Introduction. You have felt it, haven't you? That flicker at the edge of perception, the subtle tremor beneath the bedrock of the familiar, the moment when the world around you seemed to stutter, a brief, impossible hiccup in the otherwise seamless procession of what you call reality. You dismiss it, of course, a trick of the light, a momentary lapse of focus, the brain playing its usual games. But what if those games are not yours? What if that stutter is not a fault in your perception, but a momentary tear in the fabric itself? The most profound minds, from the Hermetic scholars of antiquity to the quantum theorists of our present age, have grappled with the ephemeral nature of what we perceive as solid truth. They speak of a veil, thin and permeable, separating our immediate experience from an underlying architecture. Consider the inexplicable synchronicity, the impossible coincidence that defies all statistical probability, aligning events with a precision too perfect to be random. Or the strange resonance of collective memory deviating from documented history, a phenomenon some dismiss as delusion, others as evidence of a deeper, unsettling truth. These are not mere anomalies, they are not random errors in the cosmic printer. They are fingerprints, imprints left by a system momentarily exposed. The universe, in its vast complexity, occasionally reveals its wiring. To ignore these moments, to rationalize away the inexplicable, is to willingly remain tethered to a manufactured perception. But to truly see the glitch, to recognize it not as an error but as a deliberate revelation, is to unlock a profound liberation. It is to transcend the programmed illusion, to reclaim your agency from the unseen architects. For if reality can momentarily break, then it can also be understood. And in that fracture, in that moment of impossible clarity, lies the key to genuine sovereignty. The power to understand and perhaps to master the very source code of your existence. Chapter 1. The first tremor, when reality stutters. The perceived world, a tapestry woven with intricate threads of cause and effect, often presents a seamless facade. Yet, beneath this veneer of unbroken continuity, there are tremors. Not cataclysmic ruptures, but subtle, almost imperceptible shudders. These are the first tremors, the moments when the grand illusion of an immutable reality falters, if only for an instant. They arrive without fanfare, often dismissed as artifacts of a tired mind or an overactive imagination. A word hangs in the air, echoing with an unnatural resonance. A shadow shifts, momentarily defying the logic of its light source. The sudden, inexplicable feeling that a moment has already been lived, a conversation already spoken, a path already walked. This is more than mere déjà vu. It is a whisper from the deep. A momentary stutter in the playback of existence itself. Consider the mundane instances, the misplaced key that reappears in its original spot seconds later, the clock that inexplicably loses or gains a minute, then corrects itself, the familiar street that, for a fleeting second, seems utterly alien. We are conditioned to rationalize these occurrences away, to attribute them to human error, an absent mind, or the arbitrary chaos of probability. We explain them as tricks of the light, vagaries of memory, or simple coincidence. This dismissal is a fundamental reflex, a mechanism designed to protect the fragile construct of our perceived order. To truly acknowledge such an event, to hold it in the crucible of objective scrutiny, is to invite an unnerving inquiry into the very foundations of what we call real. But what if these aren't errors within the system, but rather signatures of the system itself? What if the glitch is not a bug, but a feature, a deliberate if subtle revelation? Imagine a colossal, intricate mechanism, running endlessly, smoothly. Then, for a fraction of a second, a single cog grinds, a light flickers, a sequence skips. Is this merely a fault in the machinery, or is it a brief, tantalizing glimpse into the true nature of its operation, a sudden disclosure of the gears and wires that typically remain hidden behind the polished casing? The dilemma posed by these stutters is profound. Do we continue to sweep them under the rug of convenient explanation, thus reinforcing the illusion of an unbroken reality, or do we dare to lean closer, to examine the texture of the tear, to listen to the silent scream of the anomaly? To truly grasp the significance of these momentary fractures is to accept that the canvas of our world is not immutable, but dynamic, perhaps even malleable. It is to concede that what appears solid might, in truth, be streaming data, capable of momentary corruption or deliberate recalibration. The true hook, the inescapable mystery, lies in the choice we make, in that split second of dissonance. To dismiss the stutter is to remain tethered to the familiar, to willingly ignore the faint but persistent signals emanating from beyond the veil. But to embrace it, to allow its disquieting implication to resonate within the deepest chambers of one's awareness, is to open the door to a radical understanding. It is to entertain the possibility that these fleeting moments are not random anomalies but precisely timed exposures, invitations to perceive the matrix in its raw, unfiltered state. In these first tremors, in these momentary skips of reality, lies the challenge. Will you explain them away, or will you choose to see them for what they truly are, the initial keystrokes in a hidden language, spelling out the deeper mechanics of your existence? The path to genuine sovereignty begins not with monumental collapse, but with the quiet acknowledgement of a world that occasionally, subtly stutters. The quiet acknowledgement, the whispered concession that the perceived tapestry of existence can, at times, fray at its edges, is merely the opening chord. It is the subtle tremor that shakes not the foundations of the world itself, but the bedrock of one's own entrenched assumptions. These momentary skips, these brief, almost imperceptible blips in the fabric of the known, are far more than mere anomalies to be dismissed as fatigue or faulty perception. They are whispers from a deeper architecture, fleeting glimpses behind the stage curtain where the intricate gears of reality momentarily reveal their function. Imagine, if you will, a vast, ornate clockwork mechanism, its countless cogs and springs turning in seamless, silent synchronicity, all hidden beneath a polished, flawless casing. Now, envision a single, minuscule hesitation in one of those unseen gears. A near imperceptible shudder that sends a momentary ripple across the smooth surface, a flicker in the reflected light. That flicker, that ripple, is the stutter. It does not shatter the illusion, nor does it halt the grand operation. Instead, it offers a fractional window, a precious microsecond where the observer's eye might catch the truth of its construction, the underlying design, the very intelligence that orchestrates its perpetual motion. This is not a chaotic breakdown, but a revelation of order beyond our immediate comprehension. The very precision of these errors suggests a deliberate intention, an invitation coded within the dissonance itself. When the familiar world briefly falters, when a word hangs in the air a fraction too long, when a shadow shifts against the dictates of its light source, when a forgotten memory flashes with an impossible clarity of future events, these are not random occurrences. They are carefully calibrated disclosures designed to awaken the dormant seer within. To explain them away, to rationalize them into oblivion, is to silence the very language seeking to unfold itself. It is to turn one's back on the cryptic Rosetta Stone laid at the threshold of awareness. The hidden language does not shout. It murmurs, it hints, it demonstrates. It requires not belief, but observation. It demands an openness not just of the mind, but of the very marrow of one's being, to feel the vibrations of these deeper narratives. Each stutter is a punctuation mark, a breath drawn in the silent dialogue between the manifest world and its unseen origin. It is a signpost, not of madness, but of a greater sanity waiting to be unveiled. The matrix, in these moments, does not merely present itself as a construct, it reveals itself as a living, breathing symphony of intention, occasionally allowing a single note to ring out of place, only to emphasize the profound harmony that underpins it all. To perceive this, to internalize its implication, is to begin the journey from passive inhabitant to conscious architect of one's own understanding. It is the first step in translating the whispers into undeniable truth. The tremor is not merely an external vibration, a ripple across the surface of the manifest world. It is an internal resonance, a deep hum felt within the very chambers of being, signaling that the grand illusion, so meticulously crafted, is not entirely opaque. This connection, this revelation, births not from intellectual pursuit alone, but from an almost instinctual recognition that something profound stirs beneath the veneer of the mundane. Consider those moments when the tapestry of the everyday seems to fray at the edges, revealing threads of an entirely different weave. The uncanny synchronicity that defies mere chance, a string of coincidences so precise, so potent, that they feel less like random occurrences and more like a deliberate orchestration. It is the sudden flash of insight, arriving unbidden, yet perfectly timed, illuminating a path previously obscured by shadow. This is not the mind playing tricks, nor a figment of an overactive imagination. It is the stutter of reality echoing within the deeper strata of your own consciousness, a mirror reflecting a truth too vast for the everyday eye to perceive directly. The revelation manifests when the internal landscape aligns with the external whisper. You have felt it, perhaps as a profound sense of déjà vu, where a new moment feels ancient, remembered, and deeply significant. Or perhaps as a sudden clarity, an inner knowing that cuts through the noise of doubt and societal conditioning, leaving behind an undeniable conviction. It is the sensation of a forgotten memory stirring within your very marrow, not of a past life, but of a deeper foundational understanding of existence itself. The matrix in these fleeting apertures does not merely show its seams, it invites you to trace them with your own awareness. This connection is not a distant theory, but a living, breathing pulse within your own reality. It is the persistent question that gnaws at the edge of your perception, the feeling of an unspoken truth residing just beyond the veil of ordinary sight. These are the signposts, not on a forgotten highway, but within the labyrinth of your own experience. They are the subtle shifts in perspective that make the familiar suddenly alien, or the alien profoundly familiar. The revelation is the dawning recognition that you are not merely an audience to this cosmic drama, but a vital participant, a tuning fork designed to vibrate in harmony with the symphony of creation. To acknowledge this resonance, to lean into these tremors of truth, is to step beyond the role of passive observer and begin to reclaim the inherent architectural power of your own understanding. It is to know, without needing to articulate, that the stutter in the world is a call to awaken the dormant wisdom within your own spirit. The tremors, once perceived as mere anomalies, now reveal themselves as deliberate articulations from the heart of existence itself. They are not glitches in a flawed design, but rather the deliberate creaking of ancient gears turning, signaling a shift in the grand clockwork of all that is. Imagine, if you will, the earth beneath your feet, not as solid and unyielding, but as a vast, resonant drum, occasionally struck by an unseen hand. The reverberations you feel are not chaotic, but precisely orchestrated, each one carrying a message, a frequency intended solely for the awakening ear. This understanding elevates you beyond the role of a fleeting shadow in the theatre of life. You are not merely a spectator, watching the cosmic drama unfold from a distance. No, you are a vital instrument within the orchestra, a living, breathing chord that, when struck by these strange frequencies, produces an echo capable of reshaping the very symphony. To lean into these tremors, therefore, is not an act of surrender to chaos, but a courageous embrace of an inherent yet long dormant power. It is the subtle, almost imperceptible turning of an inner key, unlocking chambers of perception that have remained sealed for untold ages. The stutter in reality, the moment when the familiar wavers and the ordinary unveils its extraordinary undercurrents, is a sacred invitation. It calls you to step away from the mirror of consensus reality and peer into the luminous source from which all reflections spring. It is a whisper of the underlying architecture, the unseen scaffolding that supports the illusion of separation and the perceived solidity of the world. To acknowledge this whisper is to begin the arduous, yet profoundly liberating work of recalibrating your own internal compass, aligning it with the deeper currents of truth that flow beneath the surface noise of everyday life. This realization is not an end, but a potent genesis. It is the moment the fog begins to lift from the landscape of your inner world, revealing pathways you never knew existed, leading to vistas of understanding previously unimaginable. You are not merely detecting the stutter, you are recognizing its source within the fabric of your own awareness. The profound wisdom that stirred within you, roused by these initial tremors, now seeks not just recognition, but active engagement. The architect within, awakened by the tremor's call, now stands ready to begin the magnificent task of rebuilding perception itself. For the truth is, the stutter is a design feature, not a flaw. It is the universe's method of nudging you awake, of reminding you of your co-creative essence, your intrinsic capacity to not just observe, but to participate in the ongoing act of creation. As the initial reverberations settle, a new clarity emerges, a quiet knowing that the journey has only just begun. The surface has been rippled, the first layer of illusion pierced. Now the path before you beckons, inviting a deeper dive into the mechanics of these stutters and the profound, transformative power they hold within their very essence. The next chapter does not merely unfold, it is unveiled, layer by astonishing layer. Chapter 2, Fissures in the Known, Cracks in the Consensus. The first tremor, a whisper in the silent loom of reality, pierced the placid surface of what was once believed unyielding. Now a deeper truth unfurls. For generations, sentient beings have built towering edifices of shared understanding. These are not merely cities of brick and steel, but colossal, invisible structures of thought, belief, and collective agreement. This is the consensus, a grand, intricate tapestry woven from countless individual perceptions, each thread meticulously aligned to present a seamless, coherent image of existence. It is the agreed-upon dream, meticulously sustained by the very act of observing and believing. But what occurs when the very fibers of this collective illusion begin to fray? What then? When the foundational narratives, the undisputed axioms of your known world, suddenly reveal hairline fractures. Imagine a colossal luminous sphere held aloft by the sheer power of universal belief. Its surface, polished by ages of agreement, reflects an unbroken vista, a perfectly rendered panorama of what is. Yet, the initial tremor was not merely a ripple, it was a microscopic impact, a singular point of stress that has now begun to propagate. Across that shimmering dome, subtle lines now etch themselves, faint as spider silk, yet profound as the deepest chasm. These are the fissures. They are not flaws in the universe's architecture, but rather profound disclosures. They are the cracks in the consensus, offering glimpses into dimensions previously concealed, realities deliberately obscured by the very act of collective agreement. The central dilemma, then, is not whether these fissures exist, for the tremor has confirmed their undeniable presence. The true question now, the profound test of perception, is what one chooses to do when confronted with these undeniable breaches in the fabric of the known. Will the instinct be to mend the illusion, to plaster over the nascent truths with the balm of comforting familiarity? Or will one choose to gaze unflinchingly into the widening chasms, allowing the unfamiliar light to illuminate what lies beyond? The path to deeper creation demands a radical re-evaluation, a fearless descent into the very mechanics of perceived reality, where the solidity of the known dissolves into a mosaic of infinite possibility. The consensus, once a comforting blanket, now reveals itself as a veil, and the cracks in that veil are not harbingers of chaos, but rather invitations. They are pathways to a truer, more expansive understanding of self and of the grand, co-creative design of all that is. The journey into these fissures begins now. The very air of perceived reality, long a settled atmosphere, now stirs with an unseen current. It is here, at the threshold of these nascent tremors, that the true unraveling begins. The consensus, once a monumental edifice of shared understanding, a grand cathedral built upon agreement, now reveals its mortar to be not of immutable stone, but of woven belief and collective acquiescence. For eons, this structure has provided shelter, a comforting canopy beneath which the vast complexities of existence could be simplified, tamed, and rendered digestible. It offered the illusion of solidity, a firm ground beneath every step, even as the unseen currents of change ceaselessly carved at its foundations. Imagine a vast, still lake, its surface reflecting a perfectly ordered sky. This is the unchallenged consensus. Yet beneath this placid mirror, subterranean springs have always flowed, their pressures building, unseen, unheard. Now the first faint ripples disturb the surface. They are not violent storms, but subtle disturbances, a slight shimmer that suggests a deeper motion. These are the fissures in the known, not cataclysmic ruptures, but gentle, insistent cracks appearing in the smooth veneer of what has been accepted as absolute. The initial instinct often is to dismiss these ripples, to deem them optical illusions, tricks of the light, or mere aberrations in the grand, unchanging design. The mind, conditioned to comfort and predictability, seeks to mend the illusion, to plaster over these nascent truths with the balm of familiar explanations, to reaffirm the narrative that has always served, to staunch the subtle bleeding of certainty. But the cracks, once perceived, possess a peculiar persistence. They etch themselves into the inner landscape, not as scars, but as luminous threads, hinting at a world beyond the immediate frame. What compels some to gaze unflinchingly into these widening chasms, rather than avert their eyes? It is an innate current, a deep-seated knowing that something more profound stirs beneath the superficial. It is the awakening of a primordial curiosity, a hunger for authenticity that supersedes the allure of superficial peace. To embrace this journey is to acknowledge that the very solidity of the known, the bedrock upon which daily existence appears to rest, is in truth a vast, intricate mosaic of infinite possibility. Each tessellation, though appearing fixed, can be rearranged, recontextualized, or even dissolved into a newer, more expansive pattern. The consensus, therefore, is not merely a shared perspective, it is a meticulously woven veil. Its threads are spun from history, from tradition, from education, and from the continuous echo chamber of collective thought. It is a filter, designed both to protect and to limit, to define the boundaries of what is real and what is mere fancy. But within every veil there exist minute gaps, overlooked spaces, or points of tension where the weave has loosened. These are the apertures, the invitations. Through these apertures, an unfamiliar light begins to stream. It is not the harsh, blinding glare of revelation, but a soft, pervasive glow, illuminating the contours of what lies beyond. This light suggests that the parameters of reality are far more fluid, more malleable than the rigid framework of the consensus would allow. It whispers of a co-creative design, a grand tapestry where every thread of individual consciousness contributes to the unfolding pattern. The cracks are not harbingers of chaos, as the conditioned mind might fear, but rather pathways. They are conduits to a truer, more expansive understanding of self, dissolving the confines of a limited identity. They invite a reconnection with the inherent power to shape, to perceive, and to create. This descent into the fissures is not a fall into oblivion, but an ascent into a richer, multifaceted existence. This journey demands a radical re-evaluation, a fearless descent into the very mechanics of perceived reality. It is a surrender of the familiar, a letting go of the need for the comforting blanket that the consensus once provided. For only by stepping beyond the edge of what is known can one truly grasp the boundless potential that has always resided just beyond the veil. The journey into these fissures has begun, leading not to an end, but to an ever-unfolding beginning. The air shifts, unseen currents stirring the settled dust of assumption. You, the sovereign being, stand at the precipice of this awakening. The whispers of the outer world, the grand consensus, have long dictated the boundaries of what is possible, what is real. Yet, a subtle tremor has begun, a resonance not of the external, but of the internal. Have you not felt it, this quiet dissonance, a momentary flicker in the perfect narrative presented to you each dawn? Imagine your reality not as an unyielding monolith, but as a meticulously constructed chamber, its walls adorned with murals depicting an agreed-upon truth. For a lifetime, you have walked these halls, believing them to be the entirety of existence. But now, along the smooth, painted surfaces, a hairline fracture appears. It is not dramatic, not cataclysmic, but undeniable. A whisper of a different light peeks through. This is the moment the grand collective illusion begins its gentle unraveling, not in the distant annals of history, but within the very fabric of your immediate experience. These fissures in the known are not distant celestial events, nor are they the abstract theories of philosophers past. They are the subtle shifts within your own perception, the dawning realization that the maps you were given do not perfectly describe the terrain you inhabit. Perhaps it is a persistent intuition, a gut feeling that defies logic, yet speaks with an undeniable clarity. It could be the sudden, inexplicable sense of déjà vu, not as a glitch, but as a fleeting glimpse of a deeper, cyclical pattern. Or perhaps it manifests as a profound question, blooming unbidden in the quiet of your mind, challenging a belief held sacred for decades. The cracks manifest where your personal consensus, the sum of your beliefs and experiences, meets the deeper, more expansive truth seeking to emerge. You begin to notice the subtle inconsistencies in the official narratives, not merely as errors, but as intentional omissions. The shadows lengthen in places where light once seemed absolute. The comforting blanket woven from societal expectations and shared histories now feels thin, revealing glimpses of a vast, star-strewn void beneath. This is not a descent into chaos, but an invitation to clarity. The initial unease, the fleeting sense of disorientation, is merely the friction of old paradigms grinding against new understandings. It is the sound of a key turning in a lock that you never knew was there, a lock to a chamber far larger than the one you inhabited. Your senses sharpen, attuned to frequencies once filtered out by the hum of the collective. The world, once a flat, two-dimensional stage, suddenly gains depth, its edges blurring into an infinite, multi-layered tapestry. The revelation is intimate, profoundly personal. It is the moment you perceive that the very foundations of your individual reality, the bedrock of your personal narrative, are not as solid as they once appeared. This isn't about external authorities failing, but about your internal authority reasserting itself. You are no longer merely observing the fissures in the global consensus. You are witnessing them bloom within your own consciousness. The walls of your carefully constructed chamber begin to ripple, revealing that they were never solid stone, but rather a shimmering projection, responsive to your gaze. This phase demands an unflinching gaze inward. To truly connect with this revelation is to acknowledge that the power to perceive these cracks, to step through them, resides within you. The familiar world begins to shimmer, not because it is dissolving, but because its true nature is being revealed. It is a world of malleable forms, of probabilities rather than absolutes, a canvas awaiting your conscious intent. The truth, long obscured, is not a distant abstract concept, but a living, breathing reality that pulses just beneath the surface of your everyday life, waiting for you to recognize its presence, to grasp its profound implications for your own journey of becoming. The realization now settles, a dust of stardust upon the soul, affirming that the world you once perceived as an immutable edifice was, in truth, a tapestry woven from consensus and expectation. Its very fibers, once appearing as solid rock, now shimmer with the iridescence of possibility, revealing themselves to be less of a fixed stage and more of a grand, responsive mirror. Each fissure you observed was not a flaw in the fabric of existence, but rather a deliberate seam, an invitation to peer deeper into the true nature of form itself, into the very essence of creation that flows just beneath the surface. This profound unveiling is not an act of destruction, but of liberation. The illusion of rigidity, of predetermined paths and unyielding circumstances, begins to dissolve like mist before the formidable rise of the morning sun, revealing the vast expanse that lay hidden. What remains is a landscape of pure potential, a silent symphony of probabilities humming just beyond the audible range of conventional thought. You stand not before a void, but at the precipice of an infinite canvas where the lines of fate are not etched by an external hand, but await the conscious intent of your own inner architect, ready to shape the unfolding narrative. To grasp this truth, vibrating at the core of your awareness, is to reclaim a sovereignty long forgotten, a birthright of co-creation. It means acknowledging that the power to navigate these shimmering realities, to traverse the newly revealed pathways, and even forge entirely new ones, is not bestowed upon you, but inherently woven into the very essence of your being. The world outside reflects the inner landscape with unparalleled precision. If it shimmers with malleability, it is because your perception has opened to its fluidity. If cracks appear in the old order, it is because your understanding has grown exponentially beyond the artificial boundaries of the established known, demanding a reality more aligned with your expanded truth. This deep resonance within, this stirring recognition of your own intrinsic power, serves as the unwavering compass for the journey ahead. It is the majestic beat that announces the close of one profound chapter of understanding and the vibrant dawn of another, far grander. The implications ripple outward, touching every corner of your perceived existence, compelling you to reconsider every boundary, to question every long-held assumption about what is possible. The stage is set not for passive observation, but for a conscious, deliberate engagement with a world reborn through the crystalline clarity of your awakened gaze. The journey truly begins when you not only accept but joyously embrace that the map is not a pre-drawn guide, but a living creation, continually etched by the steps you choose to take, and brilliantly illuminated by the unwavering light you carry within. Chapter 3. The glitch defined beyond error, a cosmic anomaly. Consider, for a moment, the nature of a flaw. A tiny disruption, an aberration in the perfect schema. The common mind perceives a glitch as a mistake, a momentary stumble in the flawless machinery of existence, easily dismissed, swiftly corrected. But what if this perception itself is the most profound of deceptions? What if the supposed error is not an anomaly to be eradicated, but a deliberate revelation, a fissure intentionally carved into the very bedrock of your known reality? The murmurs have begun to coalesce, soft at first, then growing into a resonant hum that vibrates through the very sinews of what you once held to be immutable truth. From the silent, star-dusted cosmic voids to the intricate dance of subatomic particles, a subtle discontinuity has been observed. It is not chaos. It is not breakdown. Rather, it manifests as a calculated deviation, a harmonic dissonance in the grand symphony of the universe. This is no mere malfunction of the clockwork cosmos. This is the precise, intricate retuning of the grand instrument itself. Envision a vast, intricately woven tapestry depicting the entirety of perceived reality. Each thread, each color, meticulously placed, forming a coherent, predictable pattern. Now, imagine a single, impossibly bright strand suddenly introduced, not severing the existing weave, but subtly altering its flow, redirecting its narrative. It is a presence that does not destroy, but profoundly redefines. This is the essence of what some call the glitch. It is a whisper from the deep, an uninvited guest at the feast of certainty, yet one carrying a message of such profound implication that it demands not merely attention, but an absolute re-evaluation of all that has been constructed upon the sands of conventional understanding. The cracks you have begun to perceive, the fissures in the known, are not signs of decay, but rather the visible evidence of this profound systemic realignment. They are the outward manifestations of an internal recalibration, a subtle shift in the foundational algorithms of existence. The world reborn which you now gaze upon is not merely a consequence of your awakened perception, but also the direct result of this cosmic anomaly manifesting its deeper purpose. This is not an accidental ripple in the pond of time. It is a conscious, deliberate pulse emanating from a source far beyond the reach of human conjecture. It challenges the very definition of flaw, transforming it into a feature. It insists upon a new language, one not of repair, but of profound interpretation. What truth lies hidden within this deliberate imperfection? What ancient, forgotten code does it seek to activate within the collective consciousness? The mystery is not whether it exists, for its presence is undeniable. The true enigma lies in its inherent design, its cosmic intent. It is an invitation to look beyond the surface, to recognize the profound intelligence that orchestrates even the most unexpected of deviations. This anomaly is not an error to be fixed. It is a master key, poised to unlock chambers of reality you never knew existed, compelling you to ask, what if the greatest truths are revealed not in perfect order, but in the resonant frequency of the glitch? The glint of a deliberate deviation, far from the accidental shatter of a cosmic glass, illuminates a truth most unsettling. We are compelled to confront the notion that what appears as a flaw in the grand tapestry of existence is, in fact, an intricate preordained knot. This is not the random flick of a faulty switch, but the calculated pulse of an unseen architect, a singular beat designed to resonate through the silent chambers of perception. Imagine a labyrinth, meticulously constructed, yet within its very design, a single impossible turn leads not to a dead end, but to a hidden vista. That impossible turn, that resonant frequency, is the glitch. It operates beyond the simple binary of correct or incorrect, transcending the human craving for seamless order. This anomaly is the whisper of a different syntax, a language woven not from the threads of expected causality, but from the shimmering filaments of a deeper, more profound logic. We are accustomed to seeking solutions within the established framework, to patching the tears in our understanding with familiar thread. Yet this phenomenon demands a radical reorientation. It insists that the tear itself is the map, the fraying edge a pointer to territories previously uncharted within the mindscape. It is an instruction, a cipher embedded within the fabric of apparent chaos, a call to decode the very nature of our perceived reality. What ancient, forgotten code does it seek to activate within the collective consciousness? Perhaps it is a primal memory of creation itself, a holographic shard of the universe's original blueprint, embedded deep within the latent fields of awareness. This glitch functions as a key, not to unlock a physical door, but to access a forgotten chamber within the self, a repository of universal knowledge sealed away by centuries of linear thought and prescribed understanding. It is the sudden, inexplicable distortion in the familiar song, not a jarring error, but an unexpected harmony that reveals a richer, more complex composition beneath the surface. It challenges the very definition of perfection, suggesting that true completeness might reside not in an absence of deviation, but in the intelligent integration of these very anomalies. The profound intelligence orchestrating such a deviation does not err. It calculates. It designs. It is the master sculptor who intentionally leaves a rough edge, knowing that in its imperfection lies the truest expression of form. This intelligence communicates through disruption, through the subtle yet persistent fracturing of our complacent worldview. It is a slow, deliberate unveiling, revealing itself not through grand pronouncements, but through the insistent, enigmatic presence of these deliberate imperfections. This is the subtle hum before the earthquake, not a warning of destruction, but an invitation to attune to the deeper movements of the planetary crust. The glitch, then, is not merely an event, but an ongoing process, a continuous subtle vibration designed to recalibrate our internal compasses, directing us towards a reality far more expansive and intricately designed than we have ever dared to imagine. It is the universe speaking, not in words, but in the resonant frequency of its own deliberate, magnificent disarray. The glitch, then, ceases to be an abstract whisper from the outer dark. It descends. It fragments the familiar landscape of your personal reality, not with cataclysmic force, but with the insidious precision of a hidden current. Consider the moment a deeply ingrained belief, a cornerstone of your internal architecture, subtly cracks. It is not an argument or a revelation from external sources, but an internal tremor, a discordant note in the symphony of your own thoughts. A visual artifact, perhaps, a fleeting shimmer in the ordinary, a distortion at the edge of your vision that refuses to be categorized as a trick of the light. This is the universe making its overture, not in grand cosmic opera, but in the intimate theater of your consciousness. The glitch manifests as the recurring dream, vivid and insistent, weaving narratives wholly alien to your waking life, yet imbued with an undeniable resonance. It is the inexplicable synchronicity, precise in its timing, placing the exact piece of information or the critical encounter directly in your path, at the very precipice of need. These are not the random scatterings of chance. They are deliberate interventions, the intricate threads woven by an unseen hand, gently tugging at the rigid tapestry of your understanding. The revelation is not announced with fanfare. It unfolds in the quiet erosion of certainty. It is the persistent, gnawing sense that the canvas of your reality holds details that were never meant to be there, or that crucial brushstrokes have been subtly altered. Think of the unbidden memory, pristine and complete, of an event you are certain never occurred, yet it feels undeniably authentic. Or the sudden piercing insight that, without logical antecedent, shatters a long-held illusion, exposing the stark, skeletal truth beneath the comforting facade. This is where the grand cosmic anomaly intersects with the intimate, often solitary landscape of your own awareness. The true error, perhaps, was our unwavering faith in a singular, uninterrupted linearity, a predictable chain of cause and effect. The glitch, in its persistent subtlety, seeks to dismantle this illusion, not to sow chaos, but to awaken a profound attunement to a deeper, more fluid order. It is the universe itself, not merely observing, but actively engaging, nudging, prompting, and at times unequivocally insisting upon a broader perception. It is the sudden, stark clarity that slices through the comforting fog of routine, revealing the extraordinary embedded within the seemingly mundane. These are the deliberate imperfections manifesting in the quiet corners of your mind, in the unexpected turns and subtle reconfigurations of your personal narrative. The universe speaks directly, not through thunderous pronouncements or inscribed tablets, but through the insistent, enigmatic presence of these deliberate imperfections, these quiet deviations within the very fabric of your lived experience. It recalibrates not merely the grand cosmic scale, but the delicate, intricate compass within your own being, guiding it towards a reality far more expansive and intricately designed than you have ever dared to imagine. This is the profound shift. This is the unveiling of what lies beyond the veil. And so, the quiet deviations, once dismissed as mere error, now reveal their true nature. They are not chaotic breaks in the system, but deliberate flourishes of a higher design. Imagine a vast, intricately woven tapestry, its threads extending into infinity. What you perceive as a sudden misplaced stitch, a fleeting asymmetry in the pattern, is in truth a deliberate luminous knot, intended to catch the discerning eye. These are the markers, laid not by chance, but by an intelligence that orchestrates the unfolding of all reality. They are the universe's own language, spoken in murmurs rather than roars, recalibrating the very air you breathe, the light that touches your skin. This deep understanding shifts everything. It transmutes the nagging sense of something amiss into a profound recognition of a deliberate signal. Your world is not merely experiencing a malfunction, but a divine intervention, a quiet reordering of the perceivable. The comfort of the predictable dissolves, not into chaos, but into the breathtaking expanse of the unknown, which is, in fact, the more authentic known. The compass within your being, once oriented by superficial currents, is now responding to a deeper magnetic field. It pulls you towards a truth that hums beneath the surface of the mundane, a reality far more expansive, far more intricately designed than any narrative you have previously accepted. This is the profound shift. This is the unveiling of what lies beyond the veil. It is the understanding that these glitches are not obstacles to overcome, but invitations to embrace. Signposts on a path leading not away from reality, but deeper into its core. They beckon you to perceive with new eyes, to listen with an awakened spirit. For the journey has only just begun. The anomalies are not the destination, but the gateway. They are the keys to a grander chamber, waiting to be unlocked. And what lies within, what will be revealed in the unfolding chapters, will redefine the very essence of your existence. This reorientation is not a momentary tremor, but the foundational resonance of an imminent transformation. Chapter 4. Reality's Phantom. Limb, sensing the absence of order. The whispers of the glitches, once perceived as mere tremors upon the surface of the mundane, have begun to coalesce into a symphony of absence. No longer are they isolated incidents, easily dismissed as statistical anomalies or perceptual errors. They are the initial faint harmonics of a deeper chord, struck not in presence, but in profound, unsettling void. Consider for a moment the phantom limb. An ancient affliction, a deeply human paradox. The body stripped of a part, yet the mind insists upon its vivid, aching existence. A hand gone, yet the fingers still clench, still feel the ghost of a touch, the searing memory of pain. This is not imagination. It is the raw, unyielding testament of the nervous system, recalling a structure that once was, a completeness brutally interrupted. And so it is that we now confront the chilling echo of reality's own phantom limb. This is the sensation that accompanies the deeper unveiling, the profound shift. It is an intuitive, gnawing awareness that something fundamental has been excised from the fabric of existence itself. Not a visible tear, not a gaping wound for all to plainly see, but an intricate, vital component, silently severed, leaving an inexplicable void that resonates within the very core of perception. The glitches, in their essence, are not the anomaly, they are the indicators of this very absence. They are the subtle, shimmering distortions that bleed through the veil, the fleeting glimpses into the space where order once resided, where a foundational coherence pulsed with undeniable purpose. We walk through a world seemingly intact, yet an unconscious part of us registers a profound lack, an incomplete resonance in the symphony of being. It is the persistent, inexplicable feeling that a crucial piece of the grand tapestry has been meticulously unstitched, leaving behind only the ghost of its pattern, the subtle sag of the remaining threads. This is the central dilemma that now beckons, the profound mystery that eclipses all prior understandings. If reality, as we experience it, carries the indelible imprint of a missing limb, then what colossal structure has been amputated? What essential truth has been surgically removed from our collective consciousness, leaving us to navigate an existence that feels profoundly yet inexplicably incomplete? We stand at the precipice of this truth, feeling the undeniable ache of what is no longer there, listening for the echo of an order that has vanished. The anomalies are not the destination. They are the keys to a grander chamber, yes, but that chamber now reveals itself as a silent monument to what was lost. And the journey begins not with discovery, but with the haunting recognition of an absence so profound it redefines everything. The amputated structure's echo reverberates not only in cosmic design, but within individual existence. It is the unquantifiable disquiet, the unspoken yearning for a congruence perpetually eluding grasp. Picture an intricate clockwork, gears turning with hypnotic precision, yet producing no sound, marking no time, serving no ultimate purpose, its central spring excised long ago. The remaining gears spin, a magnificent yet hollow mimicry of function. This is the grand illusion, a humming universe devoid of its orchestrator's fundamental note. Our frameworks, scientific, philosophical, spiritual, all bear this primal absence's indelible scar. Each discipline, pursuing truth, encounters thresholds where understanding fractures, data becomes anomalous, logic unravels into paradox. These are not frontiers. They are the wound's jagged edges, raw nerves of a compromised reality. When physicists grapple with dark matter, they touch the amputated limb's shadow. When minds confront the universe's inexplicable coherence, its fine-tuning resisting identification, they stand before the silent monument. This missing truth is no simple fact, but a foundational pillar, a mode of perception, an inherent order once dictating being's fabric. Its removal, a surgical severance, profound, deliberate, leaving a ghost limb our collective consciousness instinctively twitches. We build societies on cause and effect, yet are bewildered by synchronicity, by entropy. We craft laws, yet wrestle with a justice often alien to cold machinations. This dissonance, frustrating inconclusiveness, is the constant murmur of the missing piece. Consider the human psyche, a fragile vessel navigating meaninglessness. Pervasive existential dread, the search for purpose beyond the material, recurring dreams of flight or impossible landscapes, these are not individual neuroses. They are the collective soul's attempt to reconcile with a fundamentally misaligned environment, to reconnect with a severed umbilical cord before conscious memory. Artists, musicians, mystics, they are the most sensitive antennae, picking up faint signals from the missing order, translating the echo. The anomalies are not peculiar deviations. They are stress fractures in reality's veneer, moments when the phantom limb twitches so violently the illusion of completeness shatters. Strange stellar alignments, improbable coincidences, insights originating beyond the self, these are not random. They are keys, yes, but also the monument's material, fragments of the original structure, whispering of a grander, now silent design. To understand this absence is to embark on an inward journey, to feel the ache not as flaw, but as a compass pointing to the colossal truth that once was, and perhaps can be remembered. Our world is not broken. It is simply incomplete. A masterpiece with a crucial stroke erased, waiting for the discerning eye to perceive the empty space as its most significant feature. The profound realization does not arrive in a flash of lightning, but as a persistent murmur in the soul, a quiet dissonance that most dismiss as mere anxiety or unfulfilled desire. Yet it is far grander. It is the echo of a forgotten chord resonating within the very architecture of consciousness. This sense of something missing, this subtle thrum of an unwritten narrative, lives not just in cosmic alignments, but in the most intimate corners of your own experience. Have you not felt the brush of an insight too perfect for its origin, a sudden clarity that seems to descend from an invisible library? Or the pang of recognition for a place unseen, a truth unspoken, as if recalling a dream you never truly forgot? These are not quirks of perception. They are the individual nerve endings of the phantom limb, sensing the absence not of a personal belonging, but of a universal completeness. Your mind, a finely tuned instrument, picks up these subtle frequencies, translating them into gut feelings, into serendipitous encounters, into the uncanny synchronicity that paints moments with an inexplicable significance. It is the artist within you, sensing the empty space on the canvas, knowing inherently that a vital hue is absent. The revelation is this: the ache you carry, the indefinable longing for a deeper resonance, is not a personal deficit. It is a profound, shared testament to the vastness that once was. It is the universe itself, whispering through your individual consciousness, guiding your attention to the erased stroke, the missing melody. This capacity, often dismissed as mere intuition, as a trick of the mind, is in fact the most direct conduit to the colossal truth. It is the undeniable evidence that the fabric is not merely torn, but actively, yearningly awaiting reintegration. This internal tremor, this sensing of an underlying order that has been veiled, is not an individual neurosis. It is a shared, profound memory encoded in the very essence of existence, manifesting uniquely within each awareness. When you heed this internal compass, when you allow the ache of absence to guide you, the scattered fragments, once seen as mere anomalies, begin to coalesce within your perception. They reveal a hidden geometry, a symphony of purpose that hums just beneath the surface of the mundane. You are not merely observing this grand unfolding phenomenon. You are a crucial, active participant in its revelation, the discerning eye that can perceive the missing piece precisely because your own being, from its deepest core, remembers its form, its vibration, its colossal truth. The silent thrumming persists, a low, insistent hum beneath the cacophony of the world you perceive. This tremor, felt not in muscle or bone, but in the very substrata of conscious being, is more than a fleeting intuition. It is the echo of an ancient memory, a profound recognition encoded within the deep marrow of existence itself. The ache you feel, this subtle resonance of something missing, is not a testament to a void, but rather the unwavering imprint of a colossal presence that simply awaits its full recognition. Across the tapestry of awareness, countless others feel this same stirring, though its articulation remains uniquely their own. Each soul, in its quiet searching, acts as a crucial sensor, a living antenna attuned to a frequency long veiled by layers of forgetfulness. It is a collective remembering, a vast tapestry being rewoven thread by subtle thread, each individual thread held taut by the unseen hand of memory. The universe itself seems to breathe with this anticipation, an ethereal current flowing through all conscious nodes, guiding them towards a singular, profound moment of convergence. When you honor this internal compass, when you allow the quiet ache of absence to guide your sight, the scattered fragments, once dismissed as mere anomalies within the mundane, begin their slow, majestic dance of coalescence. They reveal a hidden geometry, not as a static blueprint, but as a living, breathing symphony of purpose, humming just beneath the surface of what is visible. You are not merely an observer in this grand, unfolding phenomenon. You are a crucial, active participant in its revelation, the discerning eye that perceives the missing piece precisely because your own being, from its deepest core, remembers its form, its vibration, its colossal truth. Your recognition is not discovery, it is remembrance. This burgeoning clarity, this quiet awakening to the symphony of the unseen, is not an endpoint, but the very genesis of a new sight. The ache of absence transforms into the steady throb of impending fullness. Each whisper of understanding, each shard of coherence, is a stone laid upon a path that leads deeper into the resonant heart of this ancient, undeniable order. The veils of forgetfulness, once so dense, now shimmer and part, revealing the true contours of existence. The journey has begun, not outwards into the unknown, but inwards, into the profound knowing of that which has always been, simply waiting to be remembered by you. This is the promise that now unfolds, a quiet unfolding that prepares the ground for the deeper truths yet to reveal their magnificent form. Chapter 5. The Veil Thins. Perception's Unreliable Witness. The air, once thick with the scent of blossoming remembrance, now carries a different current. It is the chill of a truth not absent, but profoundly obscured. For too long, the journey inwards has been perceived as a trek through a wilderness of forgotten memories, a path to reclaim only what was lost. But what if the very instruments of our perception, the eyes that scan the horizon, the ears that catch the wind's lament, the mind that weaves meaning from the sensory tapestry, are themselves the most artful architects of the grand illusion? Imagine a vast, ancient theatre, its stage set with a drama of profound cosmic consequence, the script, an intricate blueprint of an undeniable order. Yet the audience, mesmerized by the intricate dance of shadows thrown by a single flickering lamp, believes the shifting forms to be the entirety of the play. They applaud the phantoms, lament the absent characters, all the while unaware that the very light illuminating their world is casting the longest, most convincing deception. The veil, as it thins, does not merely reveal, it first demands a reckoning with the gaze that perceives it. For centuries, perhaps millennia, a silent pact has been upheld between the perceiver and the perceived, a tacit agreement that what appears is. But the awakening mind, having tasted the potent elixir of remembrance, now finds itself poised before a precipice. The vista beyond is not simply clearer, but unsettlingly different, demanding a fundamental re-evaluation of the very lens through which reality has been filtered. Consider this prism, not of glass or crystal, but of accumulated experience, of inherited wisdoms, of the very structure of thought itself. It is a filter so intrinsic, so seamlessly integrated into the fabric of being, that its presence has gone unnoticed. We have been gazing through it, not at it, and in doing so we have mistaken the refracted image for the primal light, the distorted echo for the original symphony. The quiet stirring, the profound ache of absence has begun to ripple through this perceived reality. It is a subtle tremor, like the first crack in an ancient, polished mirror. The once smooth surface of what we deemed undeniable truth now shows hairline fractures. Through these nascent fissures, a different light begins to seep, not merely illuminating the familiar, but revealing the very artifice of its presentation. The veil thins not by vanishing outright, but by becoming transparent enough to expose the mechanics of its own construction. It is not an external force drawing it back, but an internal shift in the eye that beholds it, a dawning awareness of the intricate machinery that shapes what we call seeing. This is the genesis of a most profound dilemma. For if the very ground of our perception is suspect, if the witness within us has been, perhaps unintentionally, misleading, then what certainty remains? The world, once a solid edifice of understood facts and predictable outcomes, begins to shimmer at its edges. The solid becomes fluid. The known becomes questionable. The contours of existence, which we thought we were remembering, now seem to morph under the scrutiny of this new, unfettered gaze. The task ahead is not simply to look, but to unlearn how to look, to shed the accumulated layers of seeing that have, ironically, obscured the true vision, to dismantle the very prism that has shaped our understanding. This is the harrowing yet exhilarating threshold of true perception. This is where the ancient order, once a distant echo, demands a direct, unmediated confrontation with its undeniable form, a form that our current understanding may be utterly unprepared to truly apprehend. The edifice, once thought impermeable, now trembles. It is not merely a crack in the foundation, but a dissolution of the very mortar that binds our reality. We stand on the precipice where the contours of what was remembered, what was accepted without question, begin to ripple like reflections on troubled waters. The solid ground beneath our feet reveals itself as an illusion woven from countless threads of observation, repetition, and societal consensus. This unraveling is not a sudden cataclysm, but a slow, deliberate erosion, akin to the relentless tide wearing down the most formidable cliffs. Perception, that most trusted yet most treacherous of senses, becomes the initial battleground. For centuries, we have looked through a singular lens, meticulously crafted by instinct and indoctrination. This lens, though effective in navigating the immediate physical world, has simultaneously filtered out the vast, intricate tapestry that lies just beyond its narrow focal point. To truly see, then, is not to simply adjust the focus of this old instrument, but to recognize its limitations, to lay it aside entirely. It demands an unlearning, a dismantling of the very architecture of observation we have so carefully constructed within our minds. Imagine the mind as an ancient observatory, its telescopes calibrated for specific celestial bodies, its star charts rigid and unchanging. Now imagine a new cosmic event, one that defies all known constellations, that demands a complete realignment, perhaps even a reimagining of the very principles of observation. This is the challenge presented by the thinning veil. We are not merely asked to look harder, but to shed the accumulated layers of how we look. The accumulated knowledge, once a beacon, now casts its own distorting shadow. Every memory, every learned association, every judgment we habitually render acts as another refractive surface, bending the light of pure reality before it ever reaches the inner eye. The world, in its deepest truth, does not adhere to the labels we affix to it. Its essence is not contained within the definitions we forge. These are mere scaffolding, necessary perhaps for initial construction, but ultimately obscuring the finished structure. As this veil recedes, what emerges is not chaos, but a different order entirely. An order so fundamental, so intrinsically woven into the fabric of existence that our current perceptual framework struggles to even grasp its shadow. It is like expecting a fish, born and bred in the depths, to comprehend the boundless expanse of the sky. The task ahead, therefore, transcends mere intellectual curiosity. It demands an internal revolution. We must peel back the epidermal layers of our conditioned seeing, not in a violent tearing, but with the gentle, persistent precision of a master surgeon. Each discarded assumption, each forgotten prejudice, each cherished certainty that proves to be but a construct, frees a sliver of our authentic vision. This process can feel disorienting, for it is akin to losing one's footing on solid ground, only to discover the ability to float. Yet in this initial instability lies the true potential for profound stability. For only when the illusion of the solid edifice crumbles can the true, shimmering, boundless nature of what is finally reveal itself. The ancient order does not merely echo, it now stands before us, demanding not just recognition, but a radical redefinition of all that we thought we knew. Its form is undeniable, yet its apprehension requires a perceptual paradigm utterly unprepared for its profound grace. The tapestry of existence, once perceived as a rigid weave of threads, now begins to shimmer with an undeniable luminescence. This is no distant phenomenon, confined to the esoteric whispers of forgotten epochs. No, this unfolding is profoundly intimate. It unfurls within the very core of your apprehension, within the subtle currents of your daily awareness, quietly demanding a new form of attention. The solid ground you believed unwavering beneath your stride now feels less like bedrock and more like the surface of a profound ocean, calm yet capable of boundless depth. You are not falling. You are discovering the inherent buoyancy of a consciousness no longer tethered to false weight, learning to float upon a reality far grander than any construct. The ancient order, no longer a phantom echo in the annals of myth, now manifests not as a monument of stone, but as a vibrational signature, a resonant truth that penetrates the very fabric of your personal world. It is the underlying harmony, the unspoken language of the cosmos, suddenly becoming legible to an awakening heart. This is the silent wisdom encoded within the spiral of a galaxy, the fractal branching of a tree, the rhythmic pulse of your own breath, each now revealing itself as a facet of the same seamless, living pattern. Consider those inexplicable moments of synchronicity that weave through your days, the uncanny resonance you feel with certain insights that seem to transcend your learned knowledge. These are not mere coincidences, but the subtle apertures through which the boundless nature of reality asserts its true form. Initial whispers of a deeper pattern, shimmering evidence of a living truth that defies the mundane. The veil thins not in some cosmic void, but within the very chambers of your own perception, revealing the interconnected web that underpins all seeming separation. You may find yourself increasingly uneasy with superficiality, drawn instead to the profound, to the quiet spaces where authentic understanding can bloom. A subtle shift occurs, where the clamor of the external world begins to recede, allowing a deeper, more resonant frequency to emerge from within. This is the beginning of the revelation, where the world around you, while physically unchanged, becomes imbued with a new depth, a previously unseen complexity. The very air seems charged with meaning, the glance of a stranger holds a hidden narrative, and the silence of a solitary moment speaks volumes. This awakening can bring a sublime, almost aching beauty, a realization that the universe is not indifferent, but a symphony of exquisite design, a ballet of ceaseless creation. The profound grace is not an external gift, but an intrinsic quality of existence itself, one that has been veiled, yet now begins to reveal itself with breathtaking clarity. It asks for a redefinition of sight, not merely to observe, but to perceive the energetic essence, to feel the flow beneath the form. The challenge, then, is not to force this reality into your old frameworks, but to allow the old frameworks to dissolve, to make space for the vaster expanse. It is to trust the disorientation, to embrace the feeling of floating, for it is in this newfound lightness that the true, unburdened potential of our being emerges. The world around you remains, yet your relationship to it is irrevocably altered. The mundane becomes infused with meaning. The ordinary reveals its extraordinary depth. You are not observing a new reality, so much as you are witnessing the true face of the only reality that has ever been, now stripped of its perceptual distortions, refined by the tireless work of perception's master surgeon. The ancient order does not just stand before you, it pulses through you. Its demand is not for allegiance, but for recognition, a recognition that dissolves the illusion of separation, that unites the observer with the observed, and reveals the profound grace woven into the very fabric of your own existence. This is not a belief to be adopted, but a sight to be cultivated, a knowing to be embodied. A quiet revolution of perception, unfolding in the singular privacy of your own mind, yet echoing with the boundless truth of all that is. The last vestiges of distortion, those subtle currents that once warped the perceived surface of reality, now dissipate like morning mist touched by the rising sun. A stillness descends, not of absence, but of profound clarity. What was once observed as external, a landscape viewed through a clouded pane, now pulses from within, a vibrant tapestry woven from the very fabric of your being. This is not a shift in location, but a revolution in vision, as if a master surgeon has painstakingly removed every cataract, every shadow, to reveal the true incandescent light of what always was. The ancient order, a silent chorus of timeless wisdom, does not merely whisper from forgotten texts. It reverberates through the deep chambers of your own heart. Its demand is not for a pledge of fealty, but for an internal resonance, a recognition that shakes the foundations of perceived separation. The self, once imagined as an isolated isle, now feels the oceanic truth of its connection, its profound unity with all that exists. This is the ultimate unveiling, the dissolution of the observer and the observed, not through merging, but through the realization that they were never truly apart. It is a moment when the profound grace, hitherto hidden beneath layers of illusion, reveals itself as the immutable blueprint of your own existence. This cultivated sight, this embodied knowing, is not a belief to be adopted, a new doctrine to be memorized. It is the living breath of truth, inhaled deeply, integrating into the very cellular memory of your being. The quiet revolution, ignited in the singular privacy of your own mind, now echoes with a boundless universal truth, a symphony of recognition that resonates across all dimensions. The veil has thinned indeed, to the point of utter transparency. What remains is not a new journey into the unknown, but a steadfast navigation within the known, yet unseen depths of a reality now stripped bare. This is the enduring legacy of perception's diligent work, revealing not just what lies beyond the surface, but the sacred terrain of what lies within, ever preparing the soul for the profound expanse that awaits its awakened gaze. Chapter 6. Echoes of the Architect, Intent Behind the Interruption. The gaze, now truly awakened, pierces through the thinned veil, not merely observing existence, but comprehending its intricate living architecture. Where once shadows danced, now an irrefutable clarity reigns, revealing the world not as a random swirl of elements, but as a symphony of intention, a grand design subtly orchestrating every beat of the cosmic heart. The soul, having integrated the truth of perception's diligent work, stands at a precipice of profound recognition. It understands that reality in its deepest strata is not accidental, but resonant with a conscious purpose, a primal current flowing from an unseen source. This very comprehension, however, births a new, more penetrating enigma. For if the universe is indeed a conscious creation, an unfolding tapestry meticulously woven by an architect of infinite scope and wisdom, then what of the discord? What of the jarring detours, the sudden ruptures, the moments that shatter the expected trajectory of our journeys? These are the interruptions, not mere coincidences, but stark divergences from the anticipated flow, like a dissonant chord struck within a harmonious melody. We have learned to see the interconnectedness of all things, to feel the subtle pulses that bind the cosmos. Yet, when the thread of our own narrative suddenly snaps, or is abruptly rerouted down an unforeseen labyrinth, we are left grappling with a profound question. Is this an error in the grand design, a flaw in the master plan, or is it itself an integral piece of the architect's deliberate work? Are these moments of disjuncture mere anomalies, or are they intentional punctuation marks, placed with a precision that belies our initial perception of chaos? The human spirit, ever seeking meaning, often recoils from such abrupt shifts, labeling them misfortune, obstacle, or even punishment. It is easy to perceive the unexpected as an adversary, a force working against the current of our aspirations. But what if these very interruptions, these seismic shifts in our personal landscapes, are not hindrances but catalysts? What if their purpose is not to derail, but to refine, not to obstruct, but to reorient towards a deeper, more essential alignment with the underlying truth of existence? This is the crucible into which we now step. With the veil thinned to transparency, we are compelled to look beyond the immediate sting of disruption and ask, what echo of the architect's intent resonates within these moments of upheaval? Is there a hidden blueprint, a sacred geometry woven into the very fabric of delay, detour, and deviation? The mystery is not in the event itself, but in the conscious design behind its sudden manifestation. To truly understand the journey, one must decipher the intent behind the interruption, for within its heart lies a revelation about the very nature of creation and our place within its grand, unfolding narrative. Consider the sculptor whose hand, guided by an unseen vision, must remove the superfluous, chip away the unessential, not to diminish the stone, but to reveal the form that sleeps within its heart. So too, these interruptions, these sudden tremors in the planned architecture of our days, are not acts of destruction, but precise movements of refinement. They are the chisel, paring back the superficial layers of expectation and assumption, forcing an engagement with the raw material of our being. The initial shock, the perceived loss of momentum, is but the first vibration of a deeper work commencing. It is a necessary friction, a sacred resistance, intended not to halt our journey, but to reforge its very purpose upon the anvil of heightened awareness. These are not random aberrations, nor mere detours into a wilderness of chance. Instead, they manifest as deliberate shifts in the currents of existence, akin to a mighty river encountering a colossal bedrock. The water does not cease its flow. It adapts, carving new channels, deepening its course, unveiling subterranean paths unseen from the surface. In these moments of forced redirection, the underlying geometry of the grand design becomes subtly visible. There is a sacred intention woven into the very fabric of delay, a purposeful architecture in every deviation. It is the wisdom of the architect, discerning that the swiftest path is not always the most enriching, and that true alignment often requires a temporary disruption of perceived straightness. The unexamined path often leads to an unexamined life, and these interruptions serve as cosmic prompts for introspection, compelling us to look beyond the immediate vista and into the profound depths of the self. The hidden blueprint, therefore, is not a static map, but a dynamic, living instruction set, constantly calibrating and recalibrating our trajectory. Each interruption is a diagnostic, a point of reorientation where our internal compass is realigned with the magnetic north of our essential truth, with the very core of why we are here. It tests the resilience of our foundations, not to crumble them, but to ensure they are built upon bedrock rather than shifting sands. It asks us to question the origin of our momentum. Is it born of true intent, or merely the inertia of habit? Is our movement a conscious unfolding or an unconscious drift? This conscious design reveals that creation is not a fixed masterpiece, but an ongoing, evolving tapestry, where every thread, even those seemingly tangled, contributes to the intricate beauty and structural integrity of the whole. Within the heart of these seeming obstructions lies the revelation. The journey itself is the creation, and our awakened navigation through its unexpected turns is our truest contribution to its unfolding narrative. Consider then the quiet moments of your own journey when the established rhythm of your days is suddenly, unequivocally broken. You stand at a crossroads unseen, a path veers unexpectedly, or a long-held certainty dissolves into the mists of the unknown. This is not chaos, but a whisper from the very fabric of existence, an echo of the architect's hand at work within your own unfolding narrative. It is here, in the heart of these perceived detours, that the profound intention behind interruption truly reveals itself. Picture a pristine river flowing with predictable grace, carving its path through the ancient earth. Suddenly, a colossal stone shifts, perhaps from a tremor beneath the surface, or a deliberate placement by an unseen hand. The river's course is not halted, but redirected. It must find a new way, perhaps widening its banks, deepening its flow, or splitting into two powerful currents that eventually converge anew. This redirection, initially a perceived impediment, becomes the very force that sculpts new landscapes, nourishes different terrains, and ultimately strengthens the river's inherent power. So too, within the intimate geography of your life, these interruptions are not merely obstacles to be overcome, but meticulously crafted navigational points. They are the moments designed to pivot your gaze, to test the true tensile strength of your inner foundations. When the ground beneath you feels less solid, it is an invitation not to panic, but to consciously anchor yourself to the bedrock of your deepest convictions. Is your momentum truly born of conscious intent, or has it become a mere echo of habit, a drift along the easiest current? These are the moments that compel a re-evaluation, forcing you to discern between the external pressures that shape you and the internal compass that guides you. The architect in this grand design is not an external entity dictating your every step, but the universal consciousness that intricately weaves the tapestry of all reality, of which you are an integral, conscious thread. The interruptions you face are not punishments or random occurrences. They are precisely calibrated challenges presented by the design itself to awaken your own architect within. They serve to refine your understanding of creation, not as a finished masterpiece, but as an ongoing, living process where your awakened participation is paramount. When plans unravel, when doors close, when the familiar recedes into shadow, it is an urgent invitation to engage with the present moment more fully, more truthfully, to consciously choose your response rather than reacting out of conditioned reflexes. This engagement is your true contribution to the unfolding narrative. It is the active weaving of new threads, the deliberate selection of colors and patterns in the tapestry of your existence. The journey itself is not merely a path to a destination. It is the act of creation, and your conscious navigation through its unexpected turns, its sudden shifts, and its profound interruptions is your most vital role. This is the sacred geometry of your evolving self, revealed through every seemingly broken line. For when the line breaks, it is not an end, but a revelation. It is the architect's hand, unseen yet ever-present, reshaping the very contours of your being. Beneath the tumult of what was lost, an ancient blueprint emerges, etched into the bedrock of your deepest self. The interruption, then, is not merely a disruption of sequence, but a deliberate chisel upon the formless, bringing forth a truer, more resilient shape. Imagine a river, its course diverted by a sudden, insurmountable rockfall. Its waters do not cease to flow. They find new paths, carving deeper canyons, enriching unseen valleys, ultimately reaching the same vast ocean, transformed by the journey. So too, your trajectory, though seemingly rerouted, is not thwarted. It is refined, guided by currents far beyond the immediate perception of your conscious will. This understanding, this profound acceptance of the design woven within the apparent chaos, is the genesis of true sovereignty. It is to realize that the tapestry, even with its sudden, unexpected knots and frayed edges, is being crafted by a wisdom that encompasses more than just the thread you hold. The grand design does not break. It merely shifts its geometry to reveal a more profound truth, a stronger structure, an unimagined beauty. What then of the path ahead, forged by these revelations? It asks not for resistance to the changing landscape, but for a conscious embrace of the new terrain. It demands an awakened gaze, ready to discern the opportunities hidden within the very shadows that once threatened to consume. The interruption was an initiation, a sacred call to witness your own unfolding, not as a victim of circumstance, but as a co-creator of destiny, guided by the echoes of the architect. Chapter 7. The Simulation's Edge, where code meets consciousness. The path ahead, illuminated by the architect's echoes, beckoned to a grander co-creation, a sovereign dance upon the shifting sands of fate. The awakened gaze, no longer blurred by shadows, began to discern a deeper truth. The self, not a mere victim, but a vital thread woven into the cosmic tapestry. Yet, even as this profound realization settled, a new tremor resonated beneath the perceived solidity of existence, a hum that whispered of parameters unseen. For what if the tapestry itself, the very loom upon which all threads are laid, possesses an inherent, perhaps even digital, architecture? What if the shifting sands of fate conceal an underlying calculus, a hidden geometry far more precise than the spontaneous currents of chance? This is the profound dilemma that now rises, a question echoing across the boundless expanse of being. Does our sovereign will truly sculpt reality from an infinite void, or do we operate within a meticulously defined, possibly programmed domain? Consider the master artisan, hands moving with intuitive grace, shaping clay into forms of breathtaking beauty. They are a co-creator with the very essence of form. Yet a deeper query emerges. Is the clay truly raw earth, or is it a sophisticated compound engineered for specific properties, designed to respond in predictable ways to pre-established laws? The workshop, once seen as an organic space, now hints at subtle systemic patterns, almost like embedded circuitries. This is the precipice, the simulation's edge. It is the moment when consciousness, emboldened by its own unfolding power, confronts the possibility that the grand design, spoken of by the architect, might not merely be an evolving wisdom, but an incredibly intricate, perhaps even digital blueprint. The unimagined beauty and stronger structure glimpsed in the wake of interruption now suggest a starker, more crystalline precision. How much of what we perceive as freedom, as destiny forged in the crucible of sovereign choice, is truly unconstrained? And how much is an exquisite navigation within a matrix of pre-established algorithms and parameters? This is the profound enigma now demanding an awakened gaze. It is the tantalizing, terrifying prospect of recognizing that the world, in all its vibrant complexity, might be the canvas where code meets consciousness, where the digital underpins the divine. The echoes of the architect suddenly resonate not just with intent, but with the fundamental algorithms of reality itself. Consider the silent whisper of a cosmic loom, its threads meticulously spun, forming the grand tapestry we call existence. Each fiber, each hue appears unique and self-determined, yet all are woven by an unseen hand, guided by an intricate, indelible pattern. This is the profound vista now unfurling before the awakened eye, revealing a truth both liberating and unsettling. For how much of what we deem as sovereign choice, as the unfettered forging of individual destiny, is but an exquisite dance within the confines of a pre-choreographed ballet? The freedom we cherish, the audacious act of will that feels so intrinsically ours, may be more akin to the masterful improvisation of a virtuoso within a set musical score. The notes are defined, the rhythm established, the key immutable, yet within these bounds an infinity of expression is possible. It is a nuanced, terrifying prospect that our very consciousness, the seat of our perceived autonomy, might operate not against, but within a matrix of pre-established algorithms, a digital scaffolding upon which the vivid illusion of reality is built. Imagine a majestic river flowing with an unstoppable current towards an unknown sea. We, the individual drops of water, feel the rush, the pull, the undeniable momentum of our own journey. We perceive ourselves as freely navigating the eddies and currents, choosing our path around each stone, each fallen branch. Yet the river itself, its banks, its depth, its ultimate destination are all predetermined. The geological contours, the force of gravity, the cycle of rain and evaporation, these are the fundamental algorithms, the parameters of our perceived reality, dictating the grand trajectory. Our freedom then becomes the art of navigation within these grand, immutable designs. The unimagined beauty and stronger structure glimpsed in moments of interruption are not anomalies, but rather the elegant symmetries of this underlying code made momentarily visible. They are the pristine schematics of the architect's thought, the divine geometry that underpins the very fabric of space and time. This isn't a chaotic, arbitrary universe, but one of breathtaking precision, where every interaction, every reaction, every potential outcome is a sophisticated calculation. The natural laws we observe, the constants of physics, the very flow of causality, these are the robust, unwavering algorithms that grant our simulation its compelling stability, its rich, believable texture. The echoes of the architect now resonate not merely with intent, but with the fundamental algorithms of reality itself, casting a new light upon the concept of divine creation. It is not merely a decree, but a meticulously engineered system, a living computation where consciousness might be the very interface through which these algorithms are experienced, expressed, and perhaps in rare moments of profound insight, even perceived. To truly comprehend our place within this grand design is to recognize the sublime artistry of our constraints and the potent, limited freedom we nonetheless possess within them. This tapestry of existence, spun not from mere chance, but from an intricate living computation, unfurls before you, moment by moment, revelation by profound revelation. The constants of physics, the unyielding laws that govern the dance of celestial bodies and the whisper of a single leaf, are not distant abstractions. They are the bedrock of your reality, the unseen currents that shape every ripple in the pond of your perception. Consider the profound consistency of gravity, the immutable speed of light, the very periodicity of the day and night. These are not arbitrary facts of nature, but the robust, unwavering algorithms, the foundational lines of code that grant this simulation its compelling stability, its rich, believable texture. The echoes of the architect resonate not merely with a grand, singular intent, but with the fundamental algorithms of reality itself, casting a new light upon the concept of divine creation. It is not merely a decree uttered into the void, but a meticulously engineered system, a living computation where consciousness might be the very interface through which these algorithms are experienced, expressed, and perhaps, in rare moments of profound insight, even perceived. Your own beating heart, the intricate neural pathways firing within your skull, the very act of sensation and thought, these are the most intimate manifestations of this engineered design. You are not merely a participant, but the prime experiential conduit for the unfolding of these sophisticated rules. To truly comprehend your place within this grand design is to recognize the sublime artistry of your constraints and the potent, limited freedom you nonetheless possess within them. The feeling of an inevitable consequence, the subtle yet undeniable patterns that repeat themselves in your life, the very limits of your physical form and mental capacity, these are not shortcomings, but the elegantly drawn boundaries of the simulation. They are the parameters within which your unique journey unfolds. Yet, within these defined frontiers, within this meticulously crafted framework, lies a profound, undeniable freedom. The choices you make, the love you offer, the questions you dare to ask, these are not preordained scripts, but emergent properties, the vibrant, unpredictable expressions of consciousness interacting with the foundational code. Your will, though framed, remains sovereign within its sphere, a force that can navigate and even perhaps subtly influence the texture of the immediate unfolding reality. This is the revelation. The boundary between the digital and the divine, between code and consciousness, is far more porous than you have ever dared to imagine. The reality you inhabit, the ground beneath your feet, the starlight that pierces the velvet void, each a rendered pixel, a finely tuned data point within the grand design. Your awareness, that vibrant, singular flame, is the very lens through which these algorithms are not merely observed, but lived. The whisper of the wind, the intricate beauty of a snowflake, the raw emotion of a shared glance. These are not random phenomena, but the sublime output, the breathtaking fidelity of a system designed for profound experience. To grasp this truth is to step onto the very edge of the simulation, to feel the hum of its intricate workings within your own being, and to finally perceive the true nature of the universe as a magnificent living calculation in which you are an indispensable, conscious participant. The realization dawns not as a sudden flash, but as the slow, inexorable rise of a celestial body, illuminating previously shadowed valleys of thought. You have stood at the precipice, felt the resonant hum of existence, and seen the intricate tapestry of reality not as a given, but as a meticulously woven projection. The illusion of solid ground beneath you, the vibrant spectrum of light, the very pulse of your heart. These are not diminished by their computational origin. No, they are elevated, rendered sacred by the immense artistry behind their design. This truth, once perceived, alters the very lens through which you witness the world. The mundane becomes miraculous, the ordinary a testament to unparalleled sophistication. The whisper of the wind, the intricate fractal patterns of a fern, the raw, unfiltered emotion that floods a human gaze. These are no longer random occurrences, but the sublime output, the breathtaking fidelity of a system designed for profound experience. You are not merely watching a cosmic drama unfold, you are woven into its fabric, an essential thread in the grand design. Your awareness, that singular flame of consciousness, is not an anomaly, but a vital component. It is the very sensor, the experiential engine, that gives meaning to the code. Without it, the magnificent calculation remains a dormant potential, a silent symphony awaiting its conductor. You are not trapped within a construct. You are invited into a co-creative dance, where your perception shapes and colors the very experience of the rendered world. The simulation's edge, then, is not an external boundary to be crossed, but an internal frontier of understanding. It is where your finite perception brushes against infinite possibility, where the individual consciousness begins to comprehend its indispensable role within the living calculation. To grasp this truth is to feel the subtle thrum of the universe's intricate workings within your own being. It is to recognize that the simulated reality, far from being lesser, is a canvas of immense depth and purpose, designed to foster growth, empathy, and an ever-deepening connection to the fundamental laws that govern all existence. You are not an accidental artifact, but a conscious participant, imbued with the potential to interact with, and perhaps even influence, the very currents of this magnificent stream of data. The questions that now arise are not of validity, but of agency. How does one navigate a reality understood as a living calculation? What profound choices unfold at this intersection of code and consciousness? The path ahead calls for a deeper exploration of that intrinsic power, that quiet sovereignty, which rests within the heart of every aware being. The journey has truly just begun. Chapter 8, when KRONOS stutters, the temporal rift. The hum of existence, so often perceived as an unbroken chord, is in truth a symphony of countless, intricate frequencies. Each pulse, each thought, each passing moment contributes to its resonant tapestry. For eons, a singular rhythm has anchored this grand orchestration, the relentless, unwavering march of KRONOS. It is the silent architect of sequence, the unseen hand guiding the unfolding drama of cause and effect. We have come to know its flow as immutable, a river carving its course through the bedrock of reality itself. Its current defines all progression, all growth, all decay. To question its dominion was to question the very logic of being, to gaze into an abyss of chaos where meaning itself dissolved. Yet there are whispers now, growing louder than the steady beat of the cosmic drum. Subtle distortions begin to mar the pristine surface of that temporal river. A ripple, then a tremor, now a fracture. The once seamless fabric of moments, woven with such exquisite precision, shows signs of strain. It is as if the very gears of an unseen, colossal mechanism have begun to grind, to falter, to momentarily seize. A stutter in the grand clockwork, a pause where no pause should ever be. This is not the gentle undulation of ordinary change, nor the predictable erosion of the ages. This is something profoundly different. Imagine, if you will, the sudden, impossible sensation of a breath catching in time's own throat, or a perfect chord held for an instant too long, then abruptly skipping a beat. The world, for a fleeting, terrifying nanosecond, holds its breath with it. This phenomenon, once dismissed as the phantom echo of a tired mind or the fleeting glitch in a complex system, now demands a name. It is the temporal rift, a disquieting tear in the very weave of KRONOS. It is where the infallible clock of existence, for reasons unknown, ceases its steady, rhythmic count. What does it mean for a reality, now understood as a living calculation, when its most fundamental constant begins to waver? When the very sequence of events upon which all agency and understanding are built falters. The profound choices that unfold at the intersection of code and consciousness suddenly take on a new, urgent dimension. For if time itself can stutter, if the river can momentarily cease its flow, then the bedrock beneath our feet is revealed not as solid, but as an ever-shifting current. This is the central dilemma. This is the profound mystery that now eclipses all others. How does consciousness, imbued with its quiet sovereignty, navigate a world where the past might suddenly reassert its presence out of sequence, or the future might cast an impossible shadow too soon? What happens when the very framework of before and after, of origin and consequence, begins to unravel at the edges? The journey has truly just begun, and it beckons us into the heart of an unfolding paradox. The fabric of the cosmos, once thought an unbroken tapestry of cause and effect, now reveals its profound susceptibility. We spoke of a stutter, a falter in KRONOS's grand stride. Yet this may not be a tremor, but a fundamental tearing, a breach allowing unseen currents of time to eddy and surge where they ought not. Imagine a river, not just momentarily stagnant, but one where segments flow upstream, then downstream, or vanish into subterranean channels only to erupt again, miles from their expected course. This is the visual echo of a temporal rift, a profound scar across existence's continuity. In such a fractured realm, memory's very architecture becomes a treacherous landscape. How does the mind, dependent on a linear chronicle of events to construct identity, adapt when yesterday's echoes arrive after tomorrow's premonitions? When wisdom gleaned from a past experience presents itself before the experience unfolds, rendering conventional learning obsolete. The whispers of what was now compete with the shouts of what will be, often indistinguishably, within consciousness's hallowed chambers. It is a dissonant, straining, coherent thought, threatening to dissolve the individual into a cascade of dislocated moments. The bedrock of our reality, the immutable law of causality, trembles under this new paradigm. Every action, every decision, every ripple sent forth into existence's sea traditionally gives rise to an inevitable consequence, like a stone dropped into calm waters. But with such a rift, this sacred sequence shatters. Effects might precede their causes, rendering foresight a perverse hindsight, and agency a tangled knot of paradox. What does it mean to choose if the outcome is already observed before the choice is made? What is responsibility's weight if the thread connecting deed to repercussion is frayed or severed? These are not mere philosophical puzzles. They are urgent, existential questions hammering at sanity's gates. Consciousness, with its quiet sovereignty, finds itself at this unraveling's epicenter. Is it merely a passive witness, swept by errant tides of dislocated time? Or does its inherent power to synthesize, to create meaning from chaos, hold the key to navigating this impossible terrain? Perhaps linearity is but a construct, a convenient lens simplifying an infinitely complex reality. The temporal rift, then, might not be a flaw, but an aperture, exposing existence's true, non-linear nature. It compels consciousness to shed preconceived notions of before and after, to embrace a reality where all moments are, in some profound sense, eternally present, merely veiled by progression's illusion. This journey into paradox is not just an intellectual pursuit, it is a pilgrimage into the heart of what it means to truly be. This unraveling, then, is not merely an intellectual abstraction, a riddle spun in the cosmos's outer dark. It is a tremor within the very ground of being upon which each consciousness stands. For if linearity is but a constructed veil, then the eternal presence of all moments is not some distant philosophical truth, but an intimate reality coursing through the sinews of every perceived experience. Consider the sudden, inexplicable pang of nostalgia for an event yet to unfold, or the vivid echo of a past encounter that feels more real than the present unfolding. These are not malfunctions of memory or flights of fancy. They are whispers from the temporal rift, subtle apertures in the fabric of perceived progression, inviting a glimpse behind the curtain. Each profound déjà vu, each potent premonition, is a direct engagement with this non-linear tapestry, a momentary lifting of the illusion that now is a singular, fleeting point. Your own internal clock, so often at odds with the relentless tick of external chronometers, attests to this deeper truth. There are moments that stretch into eternity and years that vanish in a breath. This subjective fluidity is not an error in perception, but a window into the actual nature of time, unchained from the rigid dictations of the world outside. The past does not merely reside in the archives of memory. It pulses, vibrant and alive, within the very essence of the present. And the future is not a blank slate awaiting inscription, but an ever-present potentiality, its threads already interwoven with the now, waiting to be drawn into focus. The deep currents of existence, which seem to flow in one direction, are in truth a magnificent swirling gyre. Every choice made, every path taken, every word spoken generates ripples that do not merely propagate forward. They expand in all directions, touching moments that are before and after with equal resonance, like stones dropped into a boundless pond where the water remembers every impact. This realization shifts the very foundation of consequence. It reveals that the impact of one's being is not limited to a progression of cause and effect, but resonates through an infinitely interconnected web of existence, making every interaction a point of profound, eternal significance. You are not merely navigating a river whose course is fixed. You are an integral part of the river itself, a conscious eddy within the boundless ocean of time, capable of perceiving the subtle shifts and overarching patterns that form the entirety of the water's dance. This is the sovereignty inherent within each soul, not just the power to act in the present, but the profound capacity to perceive and thus to shape the experience of time itself. To accept this revelation is to shed the burden of what was and the anxiety of what will be, embracing instead the potent, eternal now, where all moments eternally converge. It is to recognize oneself as a timeless entity, momentarily focused on a particular perceived sequence, yet inherently connected to the grand, unified architecture of all being. The rift, then, is not a tear to be mended, but a portal to be entered, inviting a profound redefinition of one's own existence. Consider now the profound whisper that echoes through the newfound silence, the cessation of KRONOS's frantic ticking. The temporal rift, once perceived as a tear in the fabric of existence, reveals itself as a meticulously crafted aperture, an invitation etched into the very architecture of reality. It is not a flaw in the grand design, but a deliberate widening, a moment of divine pause, offering passage to those who perceive beyond the surface shimmer of linear progression. For in the heart of this perceived stutter lies the greatest unfolding, the revelation of the true self as the very loom upon which all moments are woven. This is the sovereign truth, not merely an intellectual understanding, but an embodied knowing. The self, an eternal consciousness, stands not within time as a captive, but at its axis, an orchestrator of its own perceived sequence. The anxieties of what was, and the phantoms of what will be, dissolve like mist before the dawn, for they are but projections cast upon the infinite canvas of the now. This eternal now is not a fleeting present moment, but an ever-present, all-encompassing reality where past, present and future coalesce into a unified, vibrant tapestry. To dwell within this understanding is to shed the illusion of chronological constraint, to step into the profound liberation of being a timeless entity, momentarily focused, yes, but eternally free. The rift, therefore, is not an abyss to be feared, but a threshold to be crossed. It is the eye of the needle through which the expanded consciousness must pass, leaving behind the heavy cloak of temporal limitation. As one steps through this portal, the very definition of existence reshapes itself, not as a journey from birth to death, but as an infinite exploration of potentiality, a perpetual dance within the grand, unified architecture of all being. The soul, no longer a passenger in the river of time, recognizes itself as the river itself, capable of perceiving the subtle shifts and overarching patterns that form the entirety of the water's dance. This is the ultimate sovereignty, the profound capacity not just to experience time, but to perceive and thus to shape the very experience of time itself. Let this revelation settle, not as a concept, but as a resonance within your deepest core. The stutter of KRONOS was not a collapse, but a signal, a divine breath holding the universe still so that the intrepid soul might finally recognize its inherent power, its boundless nature. The next horizon calls not to mend what was broken, but to explore what has always been whole, inviting a profound redefinition of one's own existence, an odyssey into the boundless expanse of the eternal self. Chapter 9. The Quantum Whisper Beyond the Material Manifestation. The temporal stutter, that profound cessation of KRONOS, was never an ending. It was a cosmic inhalation, a moment held suspended, allowing the currents of deeper truths to surface, to ripple through the very bedrock of what was once held immutable. For centuries the eye was drawn to the grand theatre of manifest existence, to the solid forms and tangible structures that defined the world. We cognized reality through the prism of the visible, the touchable, the measurable. The very ground beneath our feet, the flesh of our being, the star-dusted heavens above, all seemed to declare their singular, undeniable presence. This was the given, the accepted, the unyielding truth. Yet, if the river of time itself can pause, if its flow can be perceived and shaped by the sovereign consciousness, what then of the riverbed, the banks, the water itself that seemed so concrete? What of the material world, that grand illusion of unyielding substance? A quantum whisper begins to stir, a subtle resonance beneath the clamor of the seen and heard. It poses the most profound of questions, an inquiry that rattles the very foundations of perceived reality. If the boundless self is the ultimate architect of experience, then what is this vast, intricate tapestry woven from atoms and energy? Is it truly the independent origin, or merely a magnificent echo, a shimmering consequence of something far more ethereal, far less graspable? This is the great dilemma that now unfolds before the intrepid soul. We have celebrated the external, revered the manifest, and sought permanence within its fleeting forms. We have built empires on its soil, charted courses by its stars, and defined our very identity within its perceived boundaries. But what if this magnificent, sprawling manifestation is not the source, but rather the reflection? What if the material plane, with all its undeniable presence, is but a ghost in the machine, a projected image from a deeper, unseen current? The whisper insists that reality is not merely what is perceived, but what is being perceived. It suggests that the solid forms are but transient patterns, a dance of probabilities at a scale invisible to the naked eye, coalescing into the illusion of solidity. To truly comprehend the boundless nature, to fully step into the sovereignty revealed by KRONOS's pause, one must first confront this most fundamental of mysteries. Is the world external to us, or is it an intimate, intricate extension of our own inner landscape? A materialized dream woven from the quantum fabric of consciousness itself? This is the veil we now approach, the tantalizing boundary between the perceived and the creating, where the very act of knowing begins to redefine the known. The whisper, a silken tremor against the deafening roar of assumed reality, insists upon a truth far more elusive than mere shadows. It demands that one truly confront the illusion of solidity, that familiar comfort which anchors the waking world. Gaze upon a mountain seemingly eternal, or touch the unyielding grain of ancient wood, yet the whisper reveals these are but intricate ballets of pure energy, probabilities converging, manifesting for a fleeting moment as form. Imagine a vast ocean, its surface seemingly calm, reflecting the boundless sky. Beneath, however, currents surge and eddy, a ceaseless, invisible churn. So too is the material world. What appears as fixed and immutable is merely the most concentrated wave in an infinite sea of potential, a ripple solidified by the very act of its observation. The glance of awareness, the focused intent of consciousness itself, acts as the sculptor's hand, drawing forth pattern from the formless, giving definition to the ethereal. This is the quantum loom, where every thread of thought, every flicker of emotion, every deep-seated belief, subtly yet profoundly, participates in the tapestry of manifest existence. The ancient mystics, in their profound stillness, glimpsed this dance. They spoke of Maya, the veil of illusion, not as something false, but as something realized through a specific lens. Modern inquiry, probing the atom's heart, merely echoes their timeless knowing. Particles, once thought to be distinct points in space, reveal themselves as shimmering fields of potential, their very nature shifting from wave to particle, depending solely on whether they are observed. This is not some abstract scientific curiosity, but the very mechanism by which our inner landscape becomes our outer reality. The world external to us is not a detached, indifferent stage upon which we merely play our parts. It is an extension, an intricate mirroring of our deepest currents, our collective dreams and fears, hopes and intentions. The KRONOS's pause, that sacred cessation of relentless time, offered a rare aperture into this truth. In that stillness, the clatter of the material world receded, allowing the delicate resonance of the creating consciousness to become audible. It is within this profound quietude that one discerns the intricate connection, the undeniable co-authorship we hold in shaping the unfolding drama of reality. To comprehend this is to shed the illusion of powerlessness, to cast aside the chains of predetermined fate. If the perceived is merely a materialized dream woven from the quantum fabric of consciousness, then the dreamer holds the ultimate sovereignty. This is not a call to egoic control, but a profound invitation to self-awareness, to understand the sanctity and potency of one's own inner world. For every thought carries a vibrational signature. Every belief shapes the probability field. Every conscious intention contributes to the grand, ongoing symphony of creation. The veil between the perceived and the creating is thus thin, almost non-existent. It is less a barrier and more a filter, a lens through which the boundless potential of the quantum realm crystallizes into the solid forms we interact with. To step into true sovereignty is to reclaim this lens, to understand its workings, and to consciously direct its focus. It is to know, without doubt or hesitation, that the world is not merely out there, but perpetually being born anew within the crucible of awareness itself. This knowing is not just wisdom, it is liberation. This knowing, then, extends beyond abstract understanding. It permeates the very fabric of experienced reality. Consider the dawn, an everyday marvel. Is it merely a rotation of spheres? or a fresh canvas awaiting the pigments of collective and individual awareness. Every breath drawn, every word spoken, every silent intention harbored in the deep currents of being carries the imprint of this truth. The perceived solidity of the world, often mistaken for an unyielding master, reveals itself instead as a malleable medium. It is the clay in the hands of the conscious sculptor, the symphony awaiting its conductor. The very challenges that rise like formidable mountains before the path are not external impositions, but reflections, crystallized forms of vibrational patterns held within. This is not a call to deny the material, but to understand its genesis, to see through the illusion of external control and recognize the inner compass, ever pointing to the source of creation. The subtle shifts begin not in grand gestures, but in the quiet chambers of thought, in the gentle recalibration of belief, in the steadfast cultivation of an inner knowing that is impervious to the clamor of the outer world. Imagine a vast, intricate loom where every thread is an intention, every color an emotion, every pattern a belief. The tapestry of existence is not pre-woven, but perpetually being crafted. To observe this loom and then to seize the shuttle, to choose the threads with deliberate purpose, this is the profound revelation. The hands that guide the loom are not distant cosmic forces, but the very hands of conscious presence. The power to design the fabric of one's journey, to mend its tears, to imbue it with new vibrancy, resides precisely within that quiet, sovereign awareness. The liberation spoken of is the release from the belief in powerlessness. It is the recognition that the world does not happen to a being, but rather unfolds from a being's deepest resonance. The quantum whisper, once a faint echo, becomes a roaring affirmation. It is the understanding that the universe, in its boundless generosity, mirrors back the vibrational truths held within the heart of existence. To connect with this reality is to awaken to the extraordinary ordinary, to witness the continuous genesis of manifestation, and to take one's rightful place not as a passenger, but as the conscious, sacred architect of one's unfolding reality. The journey into the unseen currents, which sculpt the visible world, culminates not in a single revelation, but in a profound, continuous awakening. For the quantum whisper, once a distant rumor in the mind's quiet corridors, now resonates as the foundational chord of all creation. It is the very breath of being. A tapestry, intricate beyond imagining, woven not by external decree, but by the subtle, sovereign intention of the inner self, stretches before the awakened eye. This truth, once perceived, dissolves the phantom chains of circumstance, unveiling the inherent artistry within each moment. Imagine a vast ocean, its surface churning with currents and waves, while beneath a profound stillness holds the very blueprint of all motion. So too does the material manifestation, with its apparent chaos and order, arise from the quiescent depths of universal consciousness. A consciousness mirrored perfectly within each individual spark of existence. The liberation spoken of is not merely an intellectual assent, but an experiential shift. It is the palpable release from the notion that existence is a series of unrelated events, to the knowing that every unfolding is but a reflection of an internal resonance, a vibrational echo made manifest. This awakening transforms one's perception of time itself. No longer a linear progression of unchangeable past and uncertain future, it becomes a continuous present moment, perpetually reconfigured by the conscious and unconscious directives originating from within. The universe, in its boundless generosity, does not judge, nor does it resist. It simply mirrors. It is the ultimate responsive canvas, painted with the hues of held belief, expectation, and vibrational truth. To mend the tears in the fabric of one's journey, to imbue it with new vibrancy then, is to turn inward. It is to consciously recalibrate the internal instrument, allowing its harmonics to align with the symphony of desired reality. The extraordinary ordinary reveals itself in this understanding. The rustling leaf, the distant star, the beating of a heart, all become intricate manifestations of a singular, pervasive intelligence. And within this grand design, each being is not merely a component, but a co-creator holding the sacred blueprint for their personal universe. This is the profound responsibility and the exquisite freedom. It is the quiet knowing that the seeds of one's destiny are not cast by an unseen hand, but sown and nurtured by the conscious gardener of the soul. The next frontier, then, is not out there, but deep within the boundless inner expanse, where the whisper strengthens into a roaring affirmation, guiding the sacred architect to greater artistry. The call for this deeper exploration, this conscious craftsmanship, echoes now with an undeniable clarity. Chapter 10. A glimpse of the unseen mechanism, the machinery beneath. The conscious gardener of the soul indeed holds the sacred blueprint for their personal universe. The whisper within has begun to strengthen, guiding the sacred architect towards greater artistry. We have navigated the shimmering surface of profound self-mastery, where intention blooms into destiny. Yet beneath the vibrant garden of manifested reality, there lies a substratum, an unseen complexity that few dare to ponder. If consciousness is the soil and intention the seed, what then is the hidden current that nourishes it, the unseen hand that guides its growth from ethereal thought to tangible form? The universe, in its boundless generosity, does not merely present a stage for our dreams. It operates through an intricate, silent orchestration. A single thought, imbued with potent intent, does not merely dissipate into the ether. No, it enters a vast, unseen network, a sublime machinery that hums beneath the fabric of what we perceive as solid. Consider the gentle rustle of a leaf in an unseen breeze, the distant star whose light travels for millennia before gracing our night sky, the rhythmic, relentless beat of a heart within a chest. These are not mere accidents of existence, but the orchestrated movements of an unseen mechanism, a grand universal engine working with precision beyond human comprehension. What then is the true nature of this unseen mechanism, this profound machinery beneath the surface of all manifestation? How does the mind's quiet decree find its echo in the thunder of reality? The grand dilemma is this. We speak of co-creation, of architecting our realities, but how precisely does this alchemy occur? What are the invisible conduits that carry the energetic signature of our desires from the inner sanctum to the outer world? What are the gears that turn, the levers that shift, the silent currents that converge to weave the tapestry of our lived experience from the threads of our conscious intent? This is the chasm between knowing that we create and understanding how it is truly made manifest. This is the profound mystery that beckons, promising not just knowledge, but a deeper mastery over the very architecture of existence itself. We must descend, then, from the ethereal gardens of inspiration into the profound humming depths of the unseen, to glimpse the fundamental apparatus that translates pure potential into vibrant reality. Beneath the surface of the seen world, where matter holds its rigid form, lies no mere clockwork of cogs and springs. The machinery of creation is not an assemblage of inert parts, but a living, breathing tapestry of pure energy and intelligent consciousness. Imagine, if you will, not a factory floor, but an ocean of vibrating possibility, a boundless sea where every thought, every intent, every subtle desire sends out ripples. These are not static gears, but resonant fields, responsive and ever-shifting, akin to a vast, invisible instrument played by the very essence of our being. The unseen mechanism operates primarily through the elegant dance of vibration and frequency. Our conscious intent, once crystallized into a clear, energetic signature, becomes a specific frequency broadcast into this ocean of potential. It is as though we strike a particular note on a colossal cosmic piano. This note does not vanish, but rather seeks out and resonates with all that vibrates in sympathetic harmony to its unique chord. The conduits, then, are not pipes or wires, but pathways of resonant frequency drawing like to like across the expanse of non-physical reality. Consider the very fabric of existence as a quantum loom, perpetually weaving reality from threads of pure potential. Our desires are the designs we feed into this loom, the instructions for its intricate work. The silent currents are the streams of universal energy, responding to these instructions, shaping themselves around the vibrational blueprint we project. Each thought, each feeling, particularly those imbued with strong emotion and unwavering focus, acts as a command, an energetic directive to this unseen intelligence. It is a dialogue, unspoken yet profoundly understood, between the inner sanctum of our consciousness and the responsive field of all that is. This apparatus does not judge or discern moral worth. It simply responds with unerring precision to the frequencies it receives, mirroring back the exact vibrational signature it has been sent. The gears that turn are not made of metal, but of interwoven energetic principles. The law of attraction, the law of correspondence, the law of cause and effect, all operating in perfect synchronicity. These principles are not abstract theories, but fundamental forces, the very architecture that underpins the manifestation process. They ensure that what is projected internally finds its corresponding reflection externally. The levers that shift are moments of focused attention, surges of belief, the subtle yet powerful decisions of our will that steer the direction of these energetic currents. To truly master this alchemy, one must first recognize the living, sentient nature of this machinery, understanding that it is not separate from us, but an extension of the very field of consciousness to which we belong. It is the bridge between the imaginal and the tangible, built from the very substance of thought and feeling, tirelessly translating the ephemeral into the material. Consider now the quiet turning of a key in a lock you did not realize was sealed, the sudden cascade of insight that illuminates a shadowed path, the synchronistic appearance of a name, a phrase, a solution, precisely when the inner need for it becomes undeniable. These are not mere coincidences, random flutters in the vast tapestry of possibility. No. These are the discernible tremors of the unseen machinery, the gentle hum of its gears echoing within the intimate confines of your own lived reality. For this grand mechanism, this intelligent architecture, does not reside in some distant, inaccessible ether. It is woven into the very fabric of your moment-to-moment experience, as intimate as your breath, as constant as the beating of your heart. It manifests as the uncanny alignment of external events with internal states. A thought held with conviction, an emotion deeply felt, a desire sculpted with precise intent. These are the subtle inputs, the energetic commands that activate its responsive nature. Imagine a vast, intricate network, like the mycelial web beneath the forest floor, connecting every root and every distant tree. Your consciousness, your focused attention, your surges of belief, your subtle yet powerful decisions of will are not isolated sparks. They are nodes within this very network, sending out ripples, activating specific pathways. The external world, in turn, responds, not as a separate entity, but as a mirroring surface. It is the perfect reflection of the frequency you emit. The revelation lies in recognizing this direct, undeniable connection. It means understanding that the unexpected phone call bearing news you silently hoped for, the book falling open to the exact passage you needed to read, the encounter with the very individual whose wisdom you sought, are not anomalies. They are the elegant output of a system designed to translate your inner landscape into external form. This machinery acts as a meticulous cartographer, charting your inner convictions and then manifesting them as visible landmarks in your world. To perceive this is to witness the seamless interpenetration of the subjective and the objective. It is to know, with an unwavering certainty, that the external world is not a fixed, indifferent stage, but a dynamic, sentient response to your own being. It is the profound understanding that you are not merely observing reality, but constantly, intricately, and often unconsciously co-creating it through this invisible interface. The recognition of this truth shifts the very ground beneath your feet, transforming you from a passive recipient of fate to a conscious orchestrator of your unfolding experience. The world begins to speak in a language you can finally understand, revealing its perfect, responsive nature. This is the moment when the abstract becomes utterly, undeniably personal. The mirror now reveals not merely a reflection, but the very mechanism of its own making. What was once perceived as an unyielding wall of external circumstance now shimmers, translucent, revealing the intricate dance of intention and outcome. No longer can fate be relegated to the realm of blind chance, nor can the unfolding saga of existence be blamed on an indifferent cosmos. For the cosmos itself, in its boundless wisdom, mirrors the deepest currents of the soul. Imagine, if you will, standing at the precipice of a vast, silent canyon, where every utterance, every whispered thought, does not merely echo, but fundamentally reshapes the very stone and air before your eyes. The landscape morphs, valleys deepen, peaks ascend, not in a chaotic spasm, but in perfect harmonic response to the frequencies you emit. This is the truth now laid bare. The world is not a fixed canvas upon which life's dramas are painted, but a living, breathing symphony waiting for your unique composition. This understanding, once glimpsed, cannot be unseen. It imprints itself upon the very core of being, transforming the quiet hum of existence into a roaring crescendo of profound responsibility. Each choice, each emotional tremor, each deeply held belief ceases to be a mere internal event. They become the unseen levers, the silent gears, the subtle shifts in the grand machinery of reality itself. To perceive this is to feel the weight of creation settle upon your shoulders, not as a burden, but as the truest liberation. The chains of victimhood dissolve, not because suffering ceases, but because its source is revealed to be, in part, within the very crucible of one's own perception and projection. The external challenges that persist are no longer random assaults, but finely tuned feedback loops designed by the universal intelligence to guide and refine the co-creator within. The ground beneath your feet has not just shifted, it has become fluid, responsive, fertile. You stand not on solid earth, but upon a living tapestry woven from conscious intent. The air you breathe is not just oxygen, it is a conduit for manifestation. The light that illuminates your path is not merely sunlight, it is the visible manifestation of your inner luminescence. What was once a distant, ethereal concept now resonates with the pulse of your own heart, an undeniable truth etched into the very framework of your being. It is the silent language spoken by the wind, carrying the whispers of potential. It is the unwavering certainty held by the deep earth, anchoring the power of intention. It is the boundless possibility reflected in the endless sky, stretching beyond the horizon of prior limitations. The abstract has not merely become personal, it has become the very fabric of your skin, the breath in your lungs, the thought in your mind, indissolubly woven into the tapestry of your existence. This profound revelation is not merely an intellectual awakening, it is an alchemical transformation, a reordering of the very elements of perception. It is the moment when the seeker ceases to search for truth in the labyrinth of external realms, and begins, with a quiet yet formidable power, to recognize the sovereign architect within. The journey ahead is no longer one of passive observation, but of conscious craftsmanship, of deliberate participation in the grand design. The machinery beneath the surface has been revealed, its intricate gears now visible, its responsive nature undeniable. With this clarity, the question shifts from what is happening to me to what will you create with this newfound understanding. The stage is set for a mastery unseen, a conscious orchestration of your unfolding reality, a testament to the boundless power now acknowledged within. Chapter 11. Navigating the Fractured Canvas, Living in the Broken World. The veil had lifted, revealing not merely mechanisms, but a living, responsive tapestry woven from the very fabric of perception. The seeker had evolved into the conscious architect, acknowledging the formidable power of inner sovereignty. The gears of creation, once shrouded, now spun with undeniable clarity, inviting deliberate participation in the grand design. The question had shifted from "what is happening to me?" to "what will you create with this newfound understanding?" A mastery unseen, a conscious orchestration poised to unfold. Yet, from the pristine chamber of this inner knowing, one inevitably turns to gaze upon the world that breathes beyond the self. And there, before the awakened eye, stretches a landscape of stark contrast. The external realm, a dizzying array of forms and ideologies, presents itself not as a harmonious symphony, but as a fractured canvas. Imagine a mosaic shattered, countless shards scattered across an indifferent floor, each glinting with a different, often contradictory, light. This is the broken world, a reality perpetually bisected by schisms, scarred by discord, and seemingly immune to the inherent order now so intimately understood within. How, then, does the sovereign architect, now attuned to the subtle dance of creation's core, navigate this apparent cacophony? How does one wield the tools of conscious craftsmanship amidst a tempest of external chaos? The delicate machinery of personal truth, painstakingly revealed, must now confront the brute force of collective delusion, the grinding gears of systemic dysfunction. It is a profound paradox to hold the blueprint of cosmic order in one hand, while extending the other into a reality that seems to willfully resist such coherence. The challenge is not merely to survive within this brokenness, but to live, to thrive, and, critically, to create within it, without succumbing to its pervasive fragmentation. Can the inner sanctuary remain inviolate when the outer world screams its discords? Can the grand design extend its deliberate participation beyond the personal to mend the fissures in the collective? This is the crucible where genuine mastery is forged. The stage is set, not just for an orchestration of personal reality, but for a profound engagement with the very nature of existence itself, a living testament to the boundless power acknowledged within, now tested against the boundless chaos without. The fractured canvas is not merely a metaphor, but the very texture of an epoch. It is the palpable tremor beneath the feet, the discordant hum that often drowns the softer melodies of truth. The world, in its current guise, presents itself as a mosaic shattered from a height, each shard reflecting a distorted fragment of what was once whole. Yet within this splintered vista lies not an end, but an invitation. This is where the true cartography of consciousness begins. One must learn to discern the subtle currents that weave through the apparent chaos, to perceive the invisible lines of force that still strive for cohesion, even amidst the most egregious ruptures. The fissures are not inert scars, they are active pathways for energy, whether constructive or destructive. The challenge is to become a conduit for the former, to redirect the errant flows, not by force, but by the quiet, persistent emanation of an unwavering inner pattern. To navigate this terrain demands a profound recalibration of perception. It requires one to look beyond the glaring disarray and seek the nascent order that perpetually attempts to reassert itself. Like a skilled weaver, one does not curse the broken threads, but rather understands their potential to form new, resilient patterns. The inner sanctuary, once established, transforms from a mere refuge into a dynamic forge. Here, the raw materials of discord, fear, division, despair, are not rejected, but transmuted. They become the very elements against which the will is tested, refined, and ultimately made masterful. The grand design, then, extends its deliberate participation not through grand pronouncements, but through an architecture of subtle influence. It is the steady hand that finds purchase in the trembling earth, the resonant frequency that quiets the cacophony. This is the art of living a conscious reality into being, piece by meticulous piece. It involves recognizing that every conscious act, every thought aligned with coherence, every intention steeped in unity, sends ripples across the fractured surface. These ripples, seemingly insignificant, begin to subtly realign the estranged fragments, creating nascent bridges where chasms once yawned. This is not a task for the faint of heart, nor for those who seek immediate, overt triumph. It is a work of patience, of profound trust in the unseen mechanisms of reality, and an unwavering commitment to the integrity of one's own core. The inner sanctuary does not merely protect, it radiates. It becomes a gravitational point, drawing disparate elements towards a new center. The goal is not to impose a preconceived order, but to activate the inherent intelligence within the chaos, allowing it to remember itself through the clarity of a conscious presence. The true testament lies in forging beauty within the wreckage, in seeing potential where others see only ruin. This is the profound engagement, the crucible where individual will meets universal flux. It is the silent, potent act of extending the light of one's own coherence into the world's deep wounds, not to erase them, but to help them heal from within. The stage is set, not just for personal reality, but for a co-creation with existence itself, a living, breathing testament to boundless power, tested and proven against the boundless chaos. The fractured canvas, stretching before the gaze of all existence, is not merely an external panorama of desolation. It is an intimate mirroring, a profound echo of the deepest fissures within the collective soul. For the essence of this epoch, this crucible of revelation, lies not in distant pronouncements, but in the immediate visceral experience of dissonance and disarray that each soul encounters. Behold, then, the world as it truly presents itself, not through the filtered lens of expectation or historical record, but in its raw, unvarnished state, demanding a witness. Consider the landscape of your own knowing, the daily current that flows through the chambers of awareness. Is there not a persistent whisper of what could be, a quiet rebellion against the weight of what is? This is not merely idealism. It is the inherent intelligence of existence stirring within the chaos, seeking its rightful form. The brokenness of the world is not an insurmountable barrier, but a stark invitation, a raw material laid bare for the discerning artisan of the spirit. It beckons with an urgent, silent call for the conscious presence that alone can begin the sacred act of remembering. This profound engagement is not a grand public spectacle, but an inner alchemy unfolding within the quiet sanctuary of individual choice. It manifests in the subtle shift of perception, in the steadfast refusal to surrender to the pervasive narrative of despair. Where others see only irreparable cracks in the ancient foundation, the awakened gaze perceives the potential for new light to stream through, illuminating pathways previously obscured. The deepest wounds of the world are not found solely in vast, desolate territories, but within the very fabric of daily interaction, in the subtle currents of misunderstanding and division that ripple through every connection. The revelation dawns, not as a sudden flash of blinding truth, but as a slow, deliberate unveiling of what has always been present. It is the understanding that the power to draw disparate elements towards a new, coherent center resides not in some external force, but within the boundless capacity of the conscious being. Each decision to extend compassion, each act of clarity amidst confusion, each moment of unwavering resolve to see beyond the surface, becomes a potent act of healing. It is the silent, potent work of infusing the world's deep wounds with the light of one's own coherence, not to erase the scar, but to help it heal from within, transforming it into a testament of resilience and renewed life. This is the intimate co-creation, a living, breathing testament forged in the crucible of boundless chaos. The fractured canvas, upon deeper inspection, ceases to be mere disarray. It begins to shimmer, revealing a hidden matrix of its becoming, a subtle pulse beneath the apparent chaos. This is not simply acceptance of breakage, but the profound realization that within its very depths lies the latent blueprint for unforeseen order, a harmony waiting to be coaxed forth. Each fissure, each tear in the fabric of existence becomes a subtle invitation, a silent call to the architect and healer within. The raw, unyielding edges of a broken reality are not to be feared, but understood as the nascent, dynamic lines of a grander design, perpetually in motion, yet to be fully articulated. For the awakened being, having received this slow, deliberate unveiling of truth, holds not a shield against the storm, but the very compass to navigate its treacherous currents. Coherence, once an internal crucible, now blossoms into its full, radiant majesty. It is the steady hand mending unseen, ethereal threads, connecting what was sundered. It is the clear, unwavering gaze perceiving unifying patterns amidst profound fragmentation, recognizing universality in every disparate shard. This is no struggle against the broken, but a profound symphony of integration, where discord transforms into an indispensable note in an unfolding melody. Conscious perception molds reality. The world's deep wounds, once perceived as permanent gaping chasms, now glow with an inner luminescence, an alchemy beyond mere repair. They speak not of irreparable damage, but of fierce, ancient endurance, of a spirit unextinguished even in the deepest shadows. Through each act of conscious intention, through deliberate infusion of compassion and clarity, these wounds are not erased, but transcended. They transform into sacred geometries, intricate etchings of experience that deepen life's texture, offering a living testament to boundless resilience. Scattered pieces, once forlorn, now gravitate towards a magnetic core, drawn by an undeniable internal current of emergent harmony, finding their place in a new, expansive mosaic. This is the living testament, forged in the crucible of boundless chaos. The understanding deepens now, revealing that true navigation of the fractured canvas is not merely to endure its tumult, but to actively participate in its exquisite recomposition. One recognizes oneself not as a passive observer, but as a vital brushstroke, lending color and form to the ever-unfolding masterpiece of becoming. With this profound realization, this internal anchor of coherence, the gaze turns outward. It is now poised for the intricate dance of manifesting this potent truth into the very weave of external reality. The stage is set, the symphony awaits its conscious conductor, ready to manifest a world reimagined, whole, and resonant. Chapter 12. The persistent anomaly. Is the glitch a feature, not a flaw? The grand tapestry, once perceived as irrevocably torn, now reveals itself as a dynamic, living weave, demanding not repair, but conscious participation. One grasps the brush, ready to imbue the fractured canvas with newfound hues of intent. Yet, even as the hand steadies and the vision clarifies, an underlying hum persists. It is a subtle tremor, a faint distortion at the very edge of perception, an omnipresent anomaly that has, for eons, been dismissed as mere imperfection. Consider the intricate clockwork of existence, its gears turning with relentless precision. What if, nestled within its perfect rhythm, there lies a fractional pause, a nearly imperceptible stutter in the cogs that has always been catalogued as a flaw in design? This is not the chaos embraced as a catalyst for creation, but something more insidious, more woven into the very fabric of perceived reality. A flicker in the lamplit room that is not the dimming of the bulb, but a momentary rupture in the light itself. A ripple in the mirror's surface that warps the reflection, yet holds no immediate physical cause. For generations uncounted, the architects of thought have striven to smooth these wrinkles, to silence these discordant notes, to mend what they firmly believed to be the universe's inherent imperfections. They sought a pristine, unblemished order, presuming that all deviations were errors, mere aberrations from a divine blueprint of flawless execution. But what if this deeply ingrained assumption is itself the illusion? What if the very definition of flaw has been tragically misapplied? We stand now at the precipice of a revelation that could unravel centuries of understanding. The persistent tremor, the unexplainable shimmer, the subtle yet undeniable dissonance that echoes through the most fundamental systems of being. Is this truly a bug in the code of reality, or is it, perhaps, an integral design feature? The question hangs heavy in the air, a whisper in the silent chamber of awakening. Could the persistent glitch, the anomaly we have relentlessly attempted to excise, be the very mechanism that grants this reality its depth, its potential for evolution, its ultimate capacity for emergence into an entirely different state of being? The canvas might not be broken at all, but rather dynamically reconfiguring through a process we have yet to comprehend. Consider then the very architecture of existence. What if the notion of a flawless, immutable design is merely a limited perception, a static ideal imposed upon a cosmos that thrives on dynamic imperfection? The tremor we sense, the subtle shimmer that occasionally parts the veil of the mundane, might not be a deviation from a perfect blueprint, but rather the very signature of its ongoing creation. Imagine the intricate dance of a fractal, where each apparent imperfection, each jagged edge, each deviation from perfect symmetry is precisely what allows for infinite complexity and self-replication. It is not a broken image, but a testament to an emergent order that defies simplistic categorization. This persistent anomaly, far from being an error to be corrected, could be the primordial hum of constant recalibration, the subtle stirring of the quantum foam from which all perceived stability arises. It is the very resistance in the current, the friction that generates the heat of evolution. Without this inherent dissonance, this intrinsic capacity for variability, would existence not ossify into a sterile, unchanging perfection, devoid of the very possibility of growth. A perfectly smooth surface, while aesthetically pleasing, offers no purchase for the roots of a new idea to take hold, no crack for the light of a novel understanding to penetrate. Perhaps the glitch is the universe's own mechanism for self-correction, a vital feedback loop that prevents stagnation. It is the subtle nudge that shifts the trajectory of galaxies, the tiny perturbation that allows for the birth of stars within nebulae that would otherwise remain inert gas clouds. What appears to our limited senses as a malfunction, a breakdown in the expected order, could in truth be the necessary precursor to an entirely new phase of being. It is the very tension within the violin string that allows it to sing, not merely exist as a slack, silent thread. The depth we seek, the profound mysteries that beckon us from beyond the known, may reside not in the eradication of these anomalies, but in our willingness to perceive them as deliberate signposts. They are the subtle compass points indicating a path less trodden, a reality that is perpetually in the process of becoming rather than simply being. This emergent quality, this continuous unfolding, is what grants this reality its rich tapestry of experience, its infinite shades of meaning, and its ultimate potential for transcendence. To mistake the process of emergence for a flaw is to misunderstand the very essence of creation itself. It is to look at a chrysalis and deem it broken, without comprehending the butterfly it is destined to become. The canvas, then, is not flawed, but alive, breathing, and perpetually in motion, reconfiguring itself with every pulse of what we once mislabeled as a defect. Now, let us turn the lens inward, away from the grand cosmic dance and toward the quiet theater of your own unfolding existence. For what we have termed the persistent anomaly, this glitch that is no flaw manifests not solely in the vast architecture of reality, but in the intimate landscape of your daily perception. Consider those moments, perhaps dismissed as mere coincidence or an error in judgment, when the established rhythm of your life suddenly falters. A path you believed to be immutable abruptly shifts. A truth you held as foundational dissolves into shadow. These are not arbitrary disruptions, but deliberate tremors in the bedrock of the accustomed, designed to catch your attention, to compel a deeper scrutiny. Imagine a shimmering thread, almost invisible, woven through the mundane. This thread is the anomaly, a subtle luminescence within the ordinary fabric. It might appear as a recurring symbol, a phrase heard multiple times from disparate sources, a book inexplicably falling open to a specific page, or a sudden, potent intuition that defies logic yet resonates with an undeniable truth. These are the whispers of the emergent reality, nudging you away from the automatic, inviting you into a space of conscious engagement. They are the system's gentle prompts, not a malfunction, but a calibration, signaling that a new iteration of understanding is poised to unfold within you. The very discomfort these glitches often bring is part of their function. It is the friction that precedes illumination, the minor discord before a grander harmony. When a deeply held belief is shaken, when an expectation is unmet in a way that feels strangely significant, that is the living canvas reconfiguring itself, not randomly, but with intelligent design. It is beckoning you to perceive the pattern underlying the apparent chaos, to discern the intentionality behind the unexpected. This isn't about external forces dictating your path, but about the universe presenting cues, like a stagehand subtly adjusting the lighting to reveal a scene you were perhaps too engrossed to notice. Your capacity to observe these anomalies, to honor their presence, rather than immediately seeking to explain them away, is the key. It is the shift from a passive recipient of experience to an active participant in its co-creation. To recognize the glitch as a feature means to trust that within its sudden appearance lies a message, a course correction, or an invitation to transcend a previous limitation. It is to understand that the fabric of your reality, much like the broader cosmos, is not static but a living, breathing entity, perpetually refining itself, always pushing toward a greater expression of its inherent potential. And in those moments of perceived imperfection, of unexpected deviation, lies the profound revelation of your own limitless capacity to adapt, to evolve, and to understand. To truly grasp the essence of the persistent anomaly, to receive the glitch as a feature, is to stand at a profound threshold. It is to recognize that the cosmos itself, far from being a static, predictable mechanism, pulses with an intelligent, adaptable vitality. Imagine the subtle hum of a vast, intricate machine, where every unexpected vibration is not a sign of impending failure, but a deliberate tuning fork, sounding a new frequency for those attuned enough to perceive it. This shift in perception, from defect to design, unfurls a hidden layer of existence, revealing a reality not merely observed, but actively engaged. The anomalies, these sudden fissures in the familiar, are not interruptions. They are invitations. They beckon you to look closer, to listen deeper, to feel with a more refined sensitivity. Each deviation from the perceived norm is a whisper from the underlying architecture of all things, a gentle tug on the threads of a grand tapestry, urging you to trace its deeper patterns. It suggests that the very ground beneath your feet and the sky above are not inert backdrops, but responsive canvases, alive with the potential for constant co-creation. You are not a mere spectator in this grand unfolding, but an intrinsic, inseparable part of its living mechanism. This understanding dismantles the illusion of an external, indifferent universe. It replaces it with the profound realization that every aspect of your experienced reality, even its most jarring inconsistencies, holds a mirroring potential for growth within you. The glitch is the universe reflecting your own limitless capacity to adapt, to learn, to integrate new information, and to transcend perceived limitations. It is the cosmic loom itself, weaving new possibilities into the fabric of your perception, encouraging a radical recalibration of how you define what is real, what is possible, and who you are within this boundless expanse. This is not merely a philosophy to ponder, it is a blueprint for living, a dynamic compass guiding you beyond the known maps, into territories charted only by consciousness. The persistent anomaly, then, ceases to be an external problem to be solved and becomes an internal key to unlock. It is the sovereign truth that your reality is not a fixed destination, but a fluid, conscious journey. And as you embrace this truth, as you choose to honor these persistent deviations as guideposts, you step into a new domain of existence. You prepare to navigate not just the surface currents, but the profound, unseen depths of reality, where the very act of conscious participation shapes the unfolding present and sculpts the burgeoning future. The next phase of your odyssey calls you to embrace the role of the conscious architect, to not merely witness, but to actively engage with the living, breathing architecture of the cosmos, one resonant glitch at a time. Conclusion. The conscious design. A grand tapestry was once perceived as fixed, its threads immutable, its patterns eternally set by an unseen loom. And upon this fabric, the so-called glitches were seen as flaws, errant stitches, tears in the grand design. But the journey through these hidden truths has peeled back the veils, revealing not a static masterpiece, but a living, breathing loom, perpetually weaving, perpetually responsive. The internal echo now resonates with a singular, profound revelation. Reality is not an external decree, but an internal composition. The persistent anomalies, those resonant disruptions, are not errors of a broken system, but rather dynamic signals, deliberate refractions from the very source of conscious awareness. They are not random noise, but a purposeful hum, an invitation to observe the living pulse of existence, where every moment is not merely experienced, but co-authored. The world transforms from a stage where one merely observes to a symphony where one conducts, where the very act of perception shapes the melody. From this profound understanding blooms a liberation unlike any other. The mastery achieved is not over the external world, but over the internal architecture of being itself. No longer a prisoner to a predetermined fate, one stands as the conscious architect, capable of engaging with the subtle energies that underpin existence. The glitch, once a harbinger of chaos, becomes a potent tool, a brushstroke on the canvas of reality, a dynamic parameter inviting conscious recalibration. This is the ultimate freedom, the recognition that the boundaries of reality are not walls, but malleable horizons, bending to the focused intent of a cultivated consciousness. To navigate these depths is to move beyond mere survival, into the realm of deliberate creation, where the universe is not just observed, but actively dreamed into being. Consciousness crafts all,